This first one I did where I filled in the category.
Hey, what's up, Nikki? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, make sure I got all my stuff on. So this thing's some really boring QuickBooks stuff. I gotta learn how to do my own QuickBooks so I can kind of architect this whole system out.
No fun.
I know, none at all. But pretty interesting. I figured it out after 10 years, and I guess I could have just tried to do this a long time ago, but I figured out like a good way to do it and be able to track all the costs and everything. So I'm trying to get more detailed in my job costing, so I can get really detailed and kind of hone in if there's any mistakes or anything, and how to fix them.
Good.
Problem is, it's going to require somebody like quite a bit of time every week to do it, but I think I can just hire someone to do it. And probably if I can figure out how to do it myself and build a bunch of processes around it, and then just pull a VA in for like 10 or 15 bucks an hour who can probably do most of the work. Well, it won't be the end of the world, but I think it'll probably cost me about $1,000 a month, but I'll probably easily be able to make like way more than that back in savings. Because I know my project manager is probably getting a little lazy. I haven't looked at the numbers in a long time with them, so I'm sure anytime you don't look at the numbers, they're always going poorly.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how it goes. Take your eyes off of it, you know where it is. It's always the same.
Yeah, I started using that Mint app for like all my personal finances. I'm like obsessed. I mean, I literally have linked like all of my credit cards, all of my accounts, my retirement account, all of my mortgages, my houses, and it like literally like calculates your net worth. Like it draws like the value of your home from Zillow, which we all know is a lot more than normal. It should be.
Can be.
It's cool. I mean, it's like, I like am loving it. I mean, I've set myself on like, I tracked my spending over like 3 months, and then I just took all of that and did set like budgets for like every single thing personally, and basically for like the month, so you can kind of see. I mean, it's still ridiculous, but it's a start, I mean,
well, you're more aware now, so you can obviously start, paying attention to it.
Oh yeah. So
now when you spend something, like say you go spend something at the store, does it come up on your thing and you just swipe it to what category it goes to?
Yeah, so it actually automatically puts it in a bucket based on, I guess, how that vendor is rated. So like restaurants are usually always right. So restaurants usually always come up. Coffee shops usually come up right. Doctors, like hair, like there's like the only things that you really have to categorize is like if you write checks or if it's loan payments or credit card payments, stuff like that. But any spending that you do like on a credit card or a debit card or anything like that, it usually categorizes it okay. So I used it for about 3 months, and then last month I really like got very detailed in going back in and making sure I put everything in all of the proper categories. And then I went back and like analyzed the data, and then like kind of set budgets based on what my spending was and tried to just decrease from there. It's really cool. I mean, the app only shows you so much, but then you can log on to like a desktop and get more reports and, kind of like you would probably with you're doing with the QuickBooks for business or whatever. But it's pretty eye-opening, honestly.
It sounds amazing. It sounds like a really easy way to do it. Yeah, it's free, really?
Yeah, it's a free. It gives you your credit score, like right on your dashboard. It shows you your net worth right on your dashboard, and that's like based on all the cash you have in your accounts, like if you have retirement accounts, your like your equity in your home, and then it'll show you like what your like your debts and all that. I mean, it takes a bit to kind of like input all of the accounts in there, but it's really, I mean, I'm really
awesome.
I'm really liking it, and I'm like, I can't. It's almost like a challenge, because like
That's what I was like,
oh,
a game, right? You're like trying to
it's
get the score
fun.
up, and you get the score up, you
Yeah,
actually are
it
worth more
is.
money.
Yeah, it's
Love
fun. I
that.
mean, like especially trying to save money in areas that is like ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like like mine for us was like eating out and food. Like it was ridiculous. So I've taken that budget for this month. So my challenge is to get that budget, get that down by like $1,500. Like I know it sounds crazy, but we were spending like $3,500 a month on like eating out and food.
Hmm.
And so I'm trying for this month. My goal is like 2,100.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Just when you guys are like, let's go out, you just walk across the street and go to the restaurant.
Exactly.
Probably tired of eating
That's
there,
what I
though,
was gonna
I'm
say.
Exactly. So
Like
I
what-
am doing that one night a week. One night a
Yeah.
week. I'm like, this is like our Willie's night. So that's like our free, like, that's our free thing. And I'm tracking that too. So like I'm tracking everything that I'm pulling out of the restaurant because I was taking so much money from the restaurant, not tracking it, whether it was with food or I was swiping a card to pay for my groceries. So I'm trying to get very detailed in like how much I'm taking from the restaurant.
Okay.
But I don't know. That's why you haven't seen me in the last month. That
You've
and
been,
I
like,
had like
You've been
a
diving
frickin-
in.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of other shit going on, but yeah, mainly just the restaurant and personal finances and crap like that. So
Well, good news. TJ's been coming every week, and I know he's been working on the funnel and got it up and running. I'm sure he's probably just getting ready to start using it. And if not, he can always jump back on with Tanya. She can help him kind of clean it up and get it right.
yeah, we got an electrician from it. So we
Okay.
actually, I did it. He met the electrician. He hired, we hired the guy. He was within our budget. We got him to sign a contract. We did the 1099. We did the workman's comp waiver. He's got his permit and he's supposed to start tomorrow.
Awesome. I actually just wrote, I'm glad you said that. I just wrote a new ad that I can let you guys check out for contractors. Now, it's my first rough draft, but let me grab it. And I'll throw it in the chat so you guys can, well, you know what? Let me just grab it. I'm actually working on a complete system for hiring contractors and mapping it out, Michael Chow. So we're kind of going back and forth on Google Docs and just like really kind of getting insanely detailed about it, which is the way you got to do it, honestly. See if you guys can see. And I'm going to work on this, but this is a first rough draft. I think it's a lot better because what I was trying to do in this is, well, first of all, it's like we do have to kind of sell these people a little bit, to work with us because, we're not the normal like homeowner kind of slash, we're a little different, but there's a lot of value in working with us. So I'm getting super detailed with Mike as far as like, what we're trying to do is what he's trying to do, and I'm going to actually help him with. And then obviously I think any of us could use this is creating a contractor ad, but getting a VA and train. This is all to train a VA to do it for us. So eventually, as you want to get more and more people, it would be really nice to have someone who could do the heavy lifting of this. And this is the amount of detail you get into. This is a checklist. So, I mean, and this is going to get more detailed than this. It's very detailed now, but it'll get kind of insanely detailed because what you find when you build systems out like this, a checklist, that any little detail missing obviously gets found very quickly. And in them asking you questions, doing stuff like that. So this is just like, and Kijiji is Craigslist for him, just so you know, basically posted on the same thing as Craigslist. But all this stuff's here at detail. But the part I wanted to show you was, we're talking like the on-site, how to filter your applications, really just trying to put a metric to it. Because I know a lot of it's like, well, just do this. And then you're going to have to fill in the gaps and figure it out. And that's sometimes complex. Well, I really want to take away any of the, sometimes I think, it requires you to figure it out, but I kind of want to take that away. I've been challenged by my coach who's teaching me how to build systems to say, you know what, anything that people have to figure out, you need to take the time to figure it out ahead of time for them. Like, especially because that becomes the difference in me needing like Ray or Nikki or Nancy or Darshan, somebody who thinks a little higher level to do it, who can fill the gaps in, to being able to hire someone for $10 an hour online that's in the Philippines who now, because it's so detailed that they can easily do that for you and actually probably rock it out even better than maybe we would because they would be consistently following a system. So basically, this is the ad, if you guys can see it. And we were talking last week, and I believe Christine was on, and she said that one of the things that was working really good for her was not being super fancy in the headline, just like being like plumber needed in neighborhood. And she kind of reminded me that that actually is like a really, you know, just basically right to the point, catches them. And if they're a plumber and they like know that neighborhood and it's convenient to them, then they're probably going to answer. So basically, like, hey, my name's Mike. I'm looking for trade or I'll fill in. So it's like plumber needed in Glen Burnie, right? And it says, hey, I'm looking for a plumber to start work on one of my rehabs ASAP. This house, the house we're renovating, is open and easy to work on. So what I'm doing is I'm starting to give all the benefits of working with us, which there's a lot, by the way. And some of the things that we consider to be negative, I've actually turned around into a positive. So we have a lot of repeat business, and we don't require a bunch of inconvenient estimates, which keeps you on the job making money. Let me make it a little bigger too, so you guys can see, because I know you're looking. So see if you guys can read. Can you guys all read that pretty well now? Yep. So when you work with us, we won't require you to put out a bunch of money for materials because we buy our own. So when you work with us, you're not asked to put out a bunch of money for materials because we buy our own. So this is kind of like getting around that material thing, because we totally want to do that. We use fair standardized pricing so that you know what each job will pay, and you don't have to spend a single dollar on ineffective marketing. Another big problem for contractors. They hate marketing and usually suck at it. Honestly, everyone sucks at marketing. Marketing is actually much complicated than people think. And the best part is you don't have to wait for $30 to $60 to get paid. We pay the same week upon completion of work. So we're kind of taking that, you know, paid upfront piece, and we're turning it around. You're not waiting 30 to 60 days. We actually pay on completion. So it's kind of a nice way of saying we'll pay you when the work's done, versus like you won't get paid until you do the work. So don't ask for money up front. I mean, we're basically just kind of doing it a little more slicker behind, you know, going in the back door instead of straight through the front door like the Kool-Aid guy. So scope of work, this was just kind of an example, but we would then list out the scope of work, be pretty detailed. Obviously, you don't have to get this down to every little detail, but for the most part, you would want them to know the big things they're doing. And then we have attached a quick video link here, so you can decide if our pricing works for your business model. Right. So we want them up front to say, hey, is this pricing going to work for you? And then we put how many guys, how many days. So we expect this work to take 2 guys, 2 days for rough in, and 2 guys, a third day to do finish plumbing. Our budget for this work is $2,900 for labor, and you supply pipes and materials needed to do complete job. We will provide tubs, sinks, faucets, and other fixtures. If you're interested in keeping your calendar booked solid and increasing your income in the next 12 months, fill out the application to work with us. These spots are rarely open, so please don't hesitate. Thank you for your time, and I'm excited to work with you. Mike Green, Quick Cash Home Buyers. I might consider taking the Quick Cash Home Buyers out. I mean, it might be nice to put my company name, but same time, and probably not. I'll probably just leave it in there. It's just sometimes having like goofballs come to my website and trying to find me or something, but it's nice to have a company in there. What I'm trying to give with this ad is like, I'm not just some random dude. When you have an ad that sounds like this, like legit, like it's a real business, they're not going to really be like asking for money up front. They should have no valid reason to like feel like you might rip them off, because, you know, if you're a legitimate business, they're not worried about getting ripped off. You just seem like some dude. It's like, hey man, I need somebody to do some work. Then, you know, maybe that starts to bring up people saying, I want to get paid ahead of time. Because they don't trust you. But most of the time it's them just trying to get money so they can run off and, you know, control the job, control the narrative. So this is, I'll put this up for you guys so you can see it. You can copy it and I'll throw it in the chat if you guys want to just take and copy it. If there's anything you can add or you think doesn't seem clear as far as the writing, please let me know. Because again, this is a rough draft, so I'm looking for some edits to it. Maybe even multiple edits, but I know that like I made it sales copy because that's effectively what we're doing is we're selling these people to respond to our ad, pre-selling them to work with us so our phone calls go better, so our appointments go better, and you know, we'll test it and see if it works better. I assume it might, but you know, like everything, you have to test it. So let me throw that in the chat. You guys have it if you want it.
I think that reads really good, Mike. Because you got like halfway through, I'm like, I would go to work for this guy. I'm like, what skills do I have?
Yeah, exactly. That's what
I
was
literally answered
like,
everything. Like all the stuff that you get from guys, it literally answered all of it. And I'm not even, I wouldn't commute to Maryland to work for you, but it actually read really well.
That's what I was hoping for, because I was thinking of all the things the objections they might have.
Yep.
and figuring out how I might preempt those with a positive spin to them.
And ironically, all their objections, like, they're almost identical. Occasionally you get like the rogue one, but that was all of them that I've ever had.
It won't let me copy and paste into the chat. Maybe it's too much.
I also think it was borderline a little salesy, but I think it was just enough. You know what I mean? Like a little bit like, is this a gimmick or,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like it was enough to like draw you in, but not overdone.
Yeah. Which is, if you think there's any, so maybe what you guys could look at is when you're writing copy, we always want to be careful of words that can be associated with gimmicky offers. So if there's like a word I'm using in there, like, you know, when you say like, Ray, do you want to have financial freedom? Like
Right.
financial freedom is a little bit of a gimmicky word, even though like, I don't know a better word to describe financial freedom, and I'm looking for it today. Everyone understands what financial freedom is and everybody wants it. But when you hear it, it's been so overused with like gimmicky people that it feels like almost like some kind of weird MLM or some kind of scammy thing, right? So if you guys see anything in there, it seems like words that instantly make you feel like, you know, something negative. Maybe we can just put a note in it, but I can't get it to come up. So I guess I'll just have to share it with you or something. I'll have to figure it out. Oh, you know what? I'll post it on the Facebook group. I can do that. Yeah, I can post it on the Facebook group on the higher level one. So it's there for you guys. Let's see if I can do that. So basically, because the idea is we want to sell them. And like you said, we want them feeling like when they read it, like, oh crap, I want to work for that person. And honestly, the person that I think it will reach the most would be not people who are really critical thinkers. And, you know, it's going to reach people who are a little more heartfelt and a little more think with their heart. And they see this and they're like, oh, this just sounds like a cool place to work. Like, and honestly, working for us, like if someone can really rock it out for us, it's pretty cool to work for us. Because I found that I really, really highly respect anyone who works hard and does what they're supposed to do and doesn't lie. And I really like them, and I like to pay them, and I like to do anything I can to help them. You know, and I kind of don't do so well with people that are boneheads, obviously. That kind of brings the worst out of me is what I realized. Like I don't kind of act like a goofball because probably I'm feeding off their energy, honestly. You know, you get like around people like that and you start to become like them. Okay, so I just actually dropped it in. Let's see. I just dropped it in our site. So let's see how I do it. If I just hit post. Oh, cool. Yep, so you'll see it. Okay, cool. So that's the beginning of it. If there's anything you see in it, like, I mean, look, when you're writing something that's going to make us money like this, obviously there's probably no level of like revisions and detail that we couldn't probably go to. And copy always starts off good, but then it gets great after a handful of revisions and some testing. So we'll have to put it out there and just see how it works and see if it provides better. And maybe it gets rid of people who are super negative or like, man, it sounds like a scam. Like, you know, super negative people that just can't see like an opportunity in front of them. Well, they're probably no fun to work with, right? I mean, the people that I've done the best with definitely would say they're very positive and they're very, very loyal and positive. And they're not like thinking of new opportunities and businesses. They're more just workers than they are like people who are like, they end up running a business so they can control what they're doing, but they're not in a place where they're like, you know, I want to do my own thing and kind of keep just growing out of people, right? They're very good at staying in one place for a long time and then figuring out how to make things work within that frame, which, you know, it's the kind of people you want to work with. Get one good person, and that person could really put a lot of work in for you over the years. You know, you get a couple good people and you've got a crew. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I told you last week when we were talking about it for people who were on the call that we would actually dive into it a little bit deeper. So I worked on that and, you know, kind of got that going. And obviously, once I have the complete system together, I'll kind of share that with the group and kind of give you guys a feel for, you know, what we're doing there and how. And it's really a process that you easily can follow. But then I would say from there, what we're trying to figure out is how would you get help with it if you really want to scale it up, if you were really serious about building more and more people. Because I imagine the big time consuming thing is running these funnels. But good news is once you run them, they kind of, it's one of those jobs that goes away very quickly if being done correctly. Nancy, Ray, Darshan, or Nikki, anybody have any questions? For everyone who's just jumping on, Nikki had a really good recommendation. She's using an app called Mint. Is it MINT? Yeah, MINT Mint. It's a free app, and you can actually track all your expenses, your net worth, and you just put a bunch of stuff into it. And it really helps you kind of get a feel for where you're spending money, what you're doing, so you're very aware of it. One of the big ways of actually saving money is obviously just knowing what you're spending for it to be in your face. It's probably why we've gotten so away from cash, because the credit card companies know that when you put something on a credit card, it's not like really spending anything. It's like casinos know that giving you a chip, a little plastic chip, doesn't feel, it says 100 on it, doesn't feel like $100. Feels like nothing. Feels fake almost, right? So that's why they do that. That's kind of their technique. And so we have to recognize, by looking at our expenditures, like on an app like that, can really help get us like connected with everything we're trying to do. Ray, how's everything going with the bookkeeper? I've been doing a bunch of stuff to get ready. Like I've been looking at some stuff. I'm talking with my bookkeeper tomorrow. I'm actually trying to architect a really good way to track everything. So
Yeah, it's good. We got I published it this morning early, and I was reading them earlier. I think we had like 26 people already.
you want to share your
do it.
screen, and I can show you how I do the rough cut through of it real quick?
Yeah.
This is good for everyone, because what I'll be showing you, he's trying to hire a bookkeeper, but you can hire almost anyone on Upwork to do anything. Like any job you do, consistently, you could have someone else do for you consistently. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. So first thing that I look at, so what Ray did is he posted an ad on Upwork. Upwork is a freelancing site where you can get virtual assistants. And some people do virtual assistants. Some people do very specific stuff like accounting, building funnels for you, whatever it is, like graphic design. If you want to get new menus for your restaurant, this is where you would go, right? Anything you might want or you might desire, there's somebody probably likely doing it on here. So virtual assistants are someone who basically specialize in doing a lot of little things, do a little bit of everything. They're not really an expert at anything, but mostly what I come here for is when I need a VA, great, but I like to have a bunch of what I would say is specialist on hand. So right now I've got 4 or 5 people that can either do copywriting, can do funnels, automation, different stuff that I don't really know or understand or feel like doing. And I will hire a specialist. I have a bookkeeper from here, and it's pretty amazing, because if you were to pay, say, $30 an hour to get a bookkeeper in Glen Burnie, you likely could get twice the bookkeeper that would be $60 an hour and get them somewhere in the United States. The reason people work for less on Upwork is because the flexibility of working from home. Every great person I've ever hired has been like a housewife or someone that just wants to be on the beach, like maybe they're living in Costa Rica. One guy we're working with for PPC, who's helping kind of clean our accounts up, is like traveling the world. He's a nomad. He's like in Mexico right now, living for like $8 a day or something. And that's his whole gig, right? And we pay him $100 an hour, or 80, 90, $100 an hour. I don't even know. He gets paid well. And but he can travel the world. So people love like doing Upwork. Now, when I say he makes like $80 an hour, if I was to hire him, this is somebody I would be like, probably wouldn't be working by the hour, likely would be like charging you like $1,000 a month to manage your PPC and spending like 4 hours a month doing it, meaning you'd be paying about $250, $300 an hour roughly. So I'm able to get it a lot cheaper, and he's doing some higher level stuff for me above and beyond what I understand. So $100 seems expensive, but if they're doing a $200-$300 job, it's actually really awesome. So the point of this whole site is you get more options. One of the hardest things when hiring anyone in this world is finding a really good rock star. Like we can find rock star contractors because there's a lot of them, but trying to find a bookkeeper who works like out of your office is near impossible, because first of all, they got to be available and they got to be local to you if you're working out of the office. So the new thing we're doing now, and everyone's starting to do, has any common sense, is they're using QuickBooks Online, and that way the person can work from anywhere, can work from their home, and it basically gets paid for the production of what they do. So I have somebody in Arizona, I pay $40 an hour, but she's very high level and like doing some really good fixes to my stuff. And I would definitely say she's probably a $60 to $80 person for sure. And, you can get some really good people in here. The key to what we do is we post an ad, and then like everything, we have to filter it. So it's very similar to the contractors. You're going to get a lot of people that respond, and a lot of them might sound good, but we have to look at the little details to determine whether they are good. So just to give you a quick little understanding, like if we go up here, it says like best match, Ray, $35 an hour. This lady's only earned $40, $100. I quickly would take and say the people that you see the little thumbs down, right? It says thumbs down for the people that are 0.
Okay.
Get rid of anyone that's 0 on the thumbs down. So we just thumbs down them. $40. I mean, you know, you might want to thumbs down that person too. Like I said, we want about $1,000 in work that's been done because
I
honestly,
thought this guy might be a fit. He was the first one that applied at like
yeah,
5 this
6K.
morning.
Absolutely. He's got 6K. He also has 100% job success. So he would definitely make the list. What you can do is you could shortlist him since he looks pretty awesome. And that's so we shortlist the people we like and we archive the people that clearly, but we have to have a way of filtering because you will spend your whole day going through these if you try to go through all of them. So the one thing that I've found over the years is I've almost never had success when I can't even think of a time I've had success when I've hired someone who does not have a certain amount of money made on this site. Because like working on this site requires a certain process, certain system, there's accountability. Most people aren't used to that oversight that the site makes you have, right? You got to track your hours. There's things you got to do. So somebody's made 6K, that suggests, okay, he's got 217 jobs. I mean, and everyone he's worked with has been 100% happy. That's pretty cool. That's good stuff. Now, don't go into his stuff yet. This is just like the filtering. We're just going to literally get through the 26 people quickly. That person has $90, get down them. I mean, you shortlist a 600K guy. I mean, you know, 90%, he's pretty good. It needs to be 90% or better, by the way. And over $1,000.
You just thumbs up him. Is that shortlist him from here?
Yeah, you thumbs up or thumbs down. Like it's like Tinder for bookkeepers. It's like, yeah, Michael H. You just got the thumbs up, dude. So we got Claire G. She's our 40K and she has 100%. So thumbs up for her. Fantastic. Hunter S, 97%, 60K, thumbs up for him. You definitely got some good people. It says $100 earned. Matt, sorry, Matt, he's got to, you know, we're going to get rid of him. Some of these people might be good, some might not be, but if they've only earned 100 or 0, get rid of 0. $100, 20K, keep them. 92%. We're not seeing anything. You can probably put a filter in it. Obviously got you all the right people. $900+. Now get rid of her. So you see, we're pretty stringent about it because you're going to have enough people that meet your criteria that you don't really need to break your rules and get someone that doesn't. Now,
why doesn't this guy have any job success rating? Because he only earned 1,000. Like nobody ranked him.
He probably's not even finished the only job he's done, so I'd probably just get rid of him. Because he didn't have a job success rating, so get rid of him. 50K, same thing. Yeah, they haven't really proven their stuff yet. 2K, I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, just get rid of her. We got plenty of people. Now, okay, hold on. This lady has nothing. But man, she's like, I have, hold on. She says she has nothing, but she has real estate experience. Dear small real estate company, I'm applying. Real estate specialist, property management. What's her name? Carrie J. I would probably, dude, thumbs up her for now, but keep her on a very short list of someone, you know. I like that she has real estate experience. And once you start digging into your ad, you might decide to work with her or not. If you don't really have anyone else, well, you might take a chance with her. But be honest, she seems like she's very, it says accounting and systems consulting. 0 earn, get rid of him. Because that's, so another thing we want to look for is that they actually are doing what we want them to do. So when you say accounting and systems consulting, Ray's looking to hire a bookkeeper, not an accountant person, not a CPA, and not a systems specialist. He's looking for someone who just grinds out bookkeeping all day long and takes on the stuff him and Hannah don't want to do. So, you know, that person is not the big thinker, the architect of the systems like we might be. This is the person that's basically just a grunt, like, I do this stuff all day, I knock it out. So when someone's like, I do tax preparation, do all that, they're generally kind of the wrong person applying for the job. So he's like advanced certified bookkeeping, cost accounting. Cost accounting is good, by the way, because cost accounting is actually a big part of what you might.
When I saw this guy, he a controller in the construction industry for 8 years. So I was curious if he's only got 1,000 earned, but.
Yeah, so 1,000's your number. And I would probably, because he has the very experience you need, I would definitely let him slide for now. I mean, because he has that exact experience. So we're looking at a couple different things, just like we look at. We're always looking for
That's
people.
it.
How many do you have now on your short list?
9.
Okay, so that's a lot to look at. And now we might
Uh,
have to say, so now what I would do is go into each one and just read really quickly, read their stuff, like what their cover letter essentially. So what I'm looking for now in the cover letter is to see, did they send me just something they copied and pasted, or did they actually take the time to write me a cover letter? Meaning like, did
you
they
just delete this
specialize it?
guy, $100. These are two new ones that must have come in while we were screening them.
200? Yeah, get rid of the 200 guy.
No, this guy's $100 an hour. I don't think I.
Well, I'll get rid of him anyhow. Yeah, he's also a CPA, right? So he's not even the right guy. I mean, we're not looking for a CPA. It's like, like I need my grass cut. Can we get the electrician to do it? You think he's free and he can cut our grass for $250 an hour? Like he'd be like, yeah, I got the grass done. It's $490. You know what I mean? We don't want to hire the wrong person. So that's definitely overkill to hire an accounting specialist for that. But these guys say accounting and financial, that's all fine. So first of all, I actually do consider, I consider like where they live. Because I don't know if this makes sense to you, but when someone lives in Texas, Georgetown, Texas, it's probably pretty cheap to live in Georgetown, Texas, right? But if someone's like, I live in New York City, well, we know that they can't work all that cheap because honestly, live in New York City, you're not making $50 an hour, you're homeless. So, I mean, they definitely have a different cost of living. So, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm sure this isn't Austin, Texas, but most places in Texas are very affordable to live in. So $30 to him might feel like $60 to a guy that lives in New York. With that
Yeah.
being said, I'm not going crazy with that thought process, but I am considering it. So the first thing on his cover letter, very, very clear that he did not copy and paste this to you. He wasn't like, dear Madam Sir, I want to formally apply for your position. It's super vague. Definitely didn't actually say anything to you. He's like, I've spent a number of years as a CFO controller for a real estate company, and I'm very familiar with HUD-1s and CD closing disclosure statements. So right off the bat, love this guy, right? So like very, very potentially good. So all I need to see was that to say that he's going to really make our short list. So he's
I
not.
like his second sentence the best.
Yep. The financial reporting. I mean, this guy's a winner, $30 an hour. He seems really good, honestly. I mean, I like a lot about him. He knows how to do everything you would need help with, like any kind of payroll, any of that stuff. He could be doing it all for you. So, yeah, I mean, he seems really good, by the way. Seems very affordable. Has 17 jobs. So he has 100% success rate. If you want to get a little more detail, which is our next step, I'll show you how to do that. But let's get through the people very quickly. So as soon as you assess that you like him, move on, because you don't want to get sucked in too much. I've gotten sucked in for like hours with this stuff, and I've learned that, okay, need not to do that as much. So thank you for posting a very interesting. I'm very interested about your situation as well as assist you in accounting and bookkeeping. I'm a licensed CPA, Massachusetts. So do you think he wrote this or copied and pasted this? There's zero details I see specific to your ad.
Yeah.
So this is basically laziness, right? So we don't really want laziness essentially. He's also in Massachusetts. He's an MBA, a CFO, CPA, right? That's a little beyond what we probably need. And I don't really see anything very specific about like, real estate. So I probably would eliminate him. Even, he's got 90%. Believe it or not, 90% isn't all that good because like, if people got 100%, that's pretty awesome. But 90
Yeah.
suggests that he makes some people unhappy. Because
When he says nothing about real estate, you hit the nail on the head. I read all these and he says like zero about real estate.
Yeah, he's being lazy. He didn't actually take the time to reply to you. And for me, if they're just like, first of all, when you respond to people like this, they generally tend not even to be that interested. I've half the time had them where they might actually be hiring a VA to take and respond to to everything that comes to them, right? They might have a VA doing that, and then they see it and they're like, what is this? I don't even want to do that, right? And then they don't respond to you. They're kind of, they're not really all that interested, because when they're interested, they'll actually take some time. If they're really like, oh, no, that's a perfect fit for me, they'll literally take at least a sentence or two, the first two sentences. What I've seen people do is like custom do the first couple sentences and then put their pre-cut stuff in. I'm okay with that as long as they've at least taken the effort to put a sentence or two in. They've actually tried. Okay, that's pretty important. So there you go. I get rid of him because we have to make some tough choices, right? So we got to be pretty picky because we don't have time to interview.
Just archive them.
Yeah, archive them for now. I mean, the thing about this is you're going to get a lot of people responding, so you don't really need to like lower your standards essentially. So 10 jobs. Let's see. It says, hello, I am working with a CPA firm.
I like this. And she says depreciation loans, et cetera. So I thought for the rentals and some other stuff.
Oh, Color, I'm interested in your bookkeeping job you have available. I currently have a few Upwork clients that I handle the bookkeeping weekly, monthly, quarterly. I have experience with rentals and home sales in the past and comfortable with class feature on QuickBooks and your rentals. So I understand the pro. Okay, so she wrote back. So she gets to stay. And also she's $25 an hour. She's got 10 jobs under her belt, 100% success rate. So Claire's doing a really good job. And Baton Rouge, Louisiana is also not a very, very expensive place to live.
Okay.
I know it's kind of insane to think that, but right? Do we want to hire someone that lives like in Miami or New York City? I mean, it's expensive to live there. So this guy's New York, New York. So I'm assuming this guy literally says ambitious, knowledgeable. Does this feel like, if you had to check, do you think Hunter S is going to be like your long-term bookkeeper?
Nah, he might end up like at Deloitte Touche or something.
Yeah, really. I feel like he's going to be like buying stuff with Warren Buffett in 10 years. I mean, he looks pretty sharp dude, and he could be like someone, if you were just looking to hire him short term to architect maybe the system or something, he totally might be the right guy. But the person you're looking for is a stayer, right? Someone that when you hire them, they're going to be with you for a while, because it takes a lot of time to get on the same page. But once you do, you want to know that you've automated that. It's an automated human process. Like you've mapped it out, you've automated it, and it's all good. So we'll probably get rid of Hunter. I'm making that assumption. I guess you can see how we make some of those assumptions. We just got to take him down him, archive him. Dear Sir, Madam, in response to your proposal, I would like to submission and consider. Yeah, I mean, so I don't think this guy's actually read anything.
Probably not.
He looks kind of lazy. He's an accounting professional too, so we're not really looking for an accountant. We're really looking for a bookkeeper. Like an accountant, you're going to pay your accountant to do your accountant work. You weeding out this. Now, this person we've seen quickly and liked her, $45 an hour. It says, I have a diverse background, which provides a strong asset. Oh, let's go down to the cover. To a small real estate company. I'm applying to be your light bookkeeping specialist because I enjoy reconciling bank statements, entering payments, receivables, our family property management company. More exciting, I'm a realtor, 6 years, and no virtual assistants helping realtors, real estate investors. So she's definitely qualified. And even though she doesn't have the right stuff, she's so highly qualified, you would consider it. What she doesn't know and why she doesn't have any real business yet is when you start off on Upwork, you can't really start at $45 an hour. You kind of have to start like a little lower. And that's then what you normally do is you raise your price as you get good reviews. So like that's kind of, they might start at $25 an hour and work for a while and then raise it to 30, 35 as they start getting more 5-star reviews and making people happy. So that's why it's so important for them to get good reviews, because they're looking at Upwork as a long-term thing. Now she seems highly qualified, so I would definitely keep her in the mix. She certainly knows what she's doing. She's from Delaware, Ohio. 45 bucks an hour, I think is kind of expensive on here, but I would still leave her in just in case. Cause again, if she's doing some really awesome work, and I like she sounds a lot like my lady, by the way, that I hired, who was actually, she was a realtor, had some property she owned. She knew all about it. So she's pretty awesome. So this guy says, I've been a comptroller for construction industry. I am currently for the last 2 years working with a few other remote clients like yourself, part-time from my home office. I enjoy doing the work in these companies using both QuickBooks, Advanced Certified. I do full charge bookkeeping, including payroll, financial statements. Also use Microsoft Office, product suite, and products on a daily basis. Excel specialists are very comfortable working remotely and managing time efficiently. Bonded, insurance, look for, okay. I mean, this guy, what's he want? Or does he have a price? Oh, $40 an hour, 1K.
Yeah.
Okay. Oregon City, Oregon. I mean, I would keep him in the list. I mean, he's very, very specific. Now, did you get rid of Hunter? Get rid of him and thumbs him down.
Oh, sorry, Hunter.
Sorry, man. Putting up your good-looking profile.
Probably got rid of this guy too, right? He's the Dear Sir, Madam.
Yep, get rid of him. So now, where you at? 4? You see how we weed it down, guys? I mean, that's 29 people down to 4 that quickly. And I would say between these 4 people, there could be a decent chance of you hiring one of them. To me, they all look very good for the job. Now, I want you to think the same way when you're hiring contractors, because you'll get a lot of people that could do the job. And I guarantee you, most of the people that we weeded out could have done the job, but we're not looking for someone who can do it. We're looking for someone who could like crush it, who could do it in their sleep, who this would be like, they'd be bringing something to the table. Like you'd be like, crap, man, they make my life easy working with them, because we don't want people that are barely getting there. We want people that can do this work without breaking a sweat. These 4 people look like they have potential, and these definitely would be worth talking to. So next step is, Ray, for you, and you can send this to me, but would be to formulate a couple questions that you might want to ask them in a quick Zoom interview, 10 minutes, see if they'd be willing to do it. And, you know, tell them a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish, and effectively just, you know, ask them a few questions of like, you know, can they help you with that? Tomorrow I'm meeting with my bookkeeper, and I should be able to send you a detailed like list of like how we kind of want to set things up. Because I think you are set up pretty well, but I think there could be some changes. What I've been reading about, because I'm getting kind of insane right now on this stuff, is I've been reading about how to get super detailed in the bookkeeping and the job costing and all that. And you might want to do that. You don't have to do it, but it's something as you get past like 10 rehabs a year, probably could bring a lot of value to you. You know, it costs you a little more money to do your bookkeeping, because you're not just going to be randomly bookkeeping. You know, you're going to be actually detailing out every job and the expenses and everything. So as you do that, then you're going to be able to study some documents. And so this is really good from here. What I'll send to you is the kind of the basic setup of QuickBooks and how you want to set it up. And, you know, and then ask them just, you know, to be able to put in the HUD ones. They're going to be comfortable doing all that. Also, we want to ask them, are they okay documenting each process they do and how they do it? Like either videoing it with you, doing it with you one time to show you how to do it, and then you record the video in Zoom, and then you take the video and you either send it to a VA or your hand and just watch the video and map it out. The reason you want to do this is because every single thing they do, you want to be able to do and document, so that way you are 100% like, if this dude just disappeared off the face of earth tomorrow, I would totally be able to do his job, or easily hire someone else by just say, here's the videos, here's the actual breakdown of what he's doing in the videos. If you give that to someone and you have a clear plan of exactly how you want your books done, hiring a bookkeeper is like, it's just child's play. It's so easy, because you're essentially saying, here's how you win with Ray and Hannah, right? This is the exact roadmap to be able to do my book. So the only way they wouldn't work with you if they're just a bonehead. And honestly, most bookkeepers aren't boneheads. Some of them are, but you know, most, if given the proper direction, can just follow your direction. You also, future reference, you might be able to get someone to do the work cheaper. You might find that maybe one of these people at say $30 to $40 an hour isn't your main bookkeeper. What you could easily do is you could have them show you the easy stuff, and you could easily get a VA at $10 an hour that you train to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then let them do all the hard stuff. So the heavy lifting would be, you know, if you got 100 transactions a month, 80 to 90 of those transactions are fairly simple, and anyone can do it, either Hannah or someone else, and they don't really take a lot of time. But 10 to 15 transactions a month, actually, you need to understand some stuff. Makes sense? So you might have this guy at $45 an hour. You're probably not going to make him do all the grunt work and the super simple stuff. You obviously can do a lot of that yourself for a while and get used to it. So a couple questions would be, obviously, I'm going to get you tomorrow. I meet with her at 4 o'clock. So by tomorrow evening, I'll have you kind of a map of exactly how you want to do your books. So you can say, here's how we want to do the books, so we can track X, Y, Z. Tell me if you think it's too much, but what I'm going to be changing to, I know I taught you guys to kind of just do everything in like improvements, but I'm finding as I'm trying to take my construction to a higher level that I can't just do that. I really need to create a way to know like how much I spent on each vendor, how much I spent on materials, labors. I really need what's called a job costing report. And I was studying like some higher level construction management, and it said one of the hardest things in construction is job costing, right? Being able to take what you spent versus what you thought you were going to spend, and then dial it down, identify what's not working, what is working. So I probably, in the size of business I'm going to run, probably going to be 10 to 15 hours a week of work to do it. But I can easily take and do what I just said, get someone for 10 or 15 bucks an hour and you know, that's what, 200 bucks a week, 800 hours a month. Cheap, right? If we really think about it, you're going to easily save way more than 800 bucks a month. I might save the level I'm doing things, I might save 10 grand a month, you know, for 800-hour spend. And, you know, if you're doing less, then maybe spend a couple hundred, but you'll save usually 5 to 10x of whatever because you're looking at your math. So the lifetime value of having someone to do this is pretty insane. no company out there is doing this well. Every person I met and everything like I've ever been in, like almost no one is doing this at a high level and studying the numbers correctly. I did it at my old company, but it was very inefficient. It was done very in a weird way. I actually discovered a new way to do it recently, just today actually, from someone who specializes in QuickBooks for house flipping. Actually is a house flipper, and he's a complete QuickBooks nerd and automation nerd. So he was like, you know, showing me exactly how to do it. It was kind of awesome because I was like, as soon as he told me, I'm like, crap, that's like every question I ever had answered. You know, because I was always like, well, how do you do this? And no bookkeepers really answered it to date. Except for him. He's like, no problem. Now, he's not the guy we want to hire, but he was a perfect guy to ask those questions. So I'm going to put it together. I already have it together already, Ray, but I need to run it by her to make sure that I'm not missing some important stuff. So I would say the first thing you might ask in your interview would be like, hey, we're setting our QuickBooks up like this. We're going to be doing this, this, and this. Does this make sense? Are you okay setting it up that way? And I would start it from 2020. I wouldn't go back and do 19 and 18. I would just start 2020. I just want to get this year into a very detailed, you know, way. And you know, so it'll take a little bit of hours to get it up to par. If he's cool with that and he sounds like he's a good fit, then I might like, hey man, you know, at first to get this all together, it might require, you know, a decent amount of hours for a few weeks. Are you available to do that? Right? What does your schedule look like? So that would probably be question 2. After question 2 of like, are you available to do it? When could you start? How fast could you finish it? You know, how much time could you dedicate to it? Question 3 might be ongoing. What I'm looking to do is to architect a complete documented step-by-step system for everything you do and everything I do. So that way I can measure, you know, improve it over time. I'd like you to be part of that. So what I would require is you either to show me how to do it and we record it, or you can do it and record it so that I can map out a process. And eventually what I'd like you to do is the higher level stuff in my business, like reconciling the accounts, you know, adding in HUD-1s and doing any kind of journal entries, the harder stuff. And the day-to-day stuff, I'm going to either have Hannah do, or, you know, somebody that works with us do. You know, kind of the day-to-day Home Depots and, you know, all the stuff, getting gas, things like that are pretty easy. And as long as they're okay doing those 3 things, like they understand the way you want to lay it out, they have the time to get started, and they're willing to let you document, because documenting is a very important piece of this. If they don't let you document and they're weird about it, then that means that's generally not someone thinking at a high level, and we don't want to work with that.
What was the program you said that does like it live records the video and audio?
Well, you can get Zoom for free. So get a Zoom account for free. And
does Zoom record it?
It does. You can record Zoom just like we're doing now, but for a free account, you get 40 minutes and it cuts you off. So you just know you'd have to jump back on after 40 minutes, and it records not to a cloud, but they make it put it on your computer, and then you can just like download it and save it to wherever, like, you know, a flash drive or something if you want. YouTube would be fantastic, or you can pay like $19 a month and you'll get like a gig, you know, where you get some storage space if you want, but not, you know, if you're just using it for this one piece, it's fine. And you can get the stuff off of there and cancel it later if you want.
Okay.
Not overly expensive. You can also use Loom, Loom. Loom, there's Zoom and then Loom. Loom does the same thing. It screen records, but again, I think they both have like a limit to how long they do it. So Loom's pretty awesome. I love Zoom, obviously, because Zoom's pretty amazing. But I mean, I've used Loom a little bit, and it's pretty cool too. I think everything has some restriction for free of like how long you can record. They don't let you record like 2 hours or anything. But these should be shorter videos anyhow. Like, I mean, everything you're doing should be somewhat of a, you know, you might take one video and have like 5 or 6 items on it. But what we're going to do when the time comes is, once he kind of maps this out with you, I can do this with you and I can get my person to help with it. But the same way I'm working with Mike, I want to work together with you to build out a very, very clean, mapped out system financially of, like, you know, you being able to look at your business and see every little detail where the money's going. So this is pretty important. Once I get that mapped out, I can share it with Nikki, Gerhard, anyone else who needs it. Nikki actually doesn't quite need it now, but she will in the future as she does more, because getting started with QuickBooks is always a headache, and it's kind of like you know, you got to clear out some space to do it. So if you got a lot else going on, it's a little bit difficult to really get focused on. And there ends up being this, for me, when I jump from like doing spreadsheets to QuickBooks, it ended up being like this year of me not knowing anything. And I felt like it was kind of disruptive to me getting some momentum. and you're starting to get some good momentum with the contractors, your flips. You know, this is good stuff you're doing with the waterproofing. A lot of stuff you've been doing is really heading in a great direction. So I'm always careful of advising people to do things they don't totally need right this second, because it could be at the cost of like taking away a lot of what you're doing well. So for me, Ray, I think you're in the perfect place. Obviously, you're 5 years in now, and you know your QuickBooks have been coming together for taxes at the end of the year, but you've not been able to use it as a tool yet. And you do enough volume that, you know, using a tool like this could totally start to skyrocket your profits and start to, you know, create better profit margins, because you'll be able to look at this stuff monthly and just like make business decisions. And if something's going 5K over budget, you got a complete breakdown. So that's what I would do your next steps for this. And let me show you guys real quickly, just kind of a job costing report. Now this is the incorrect job costing report, but let me show it to you anyhow, because just for the layout of it. Because basically what I'm finding out is that I got some incorrect books. We switched all my books over and some of it did not come over correctly. So this is actually why I like it though, is why I want to show you. I know it's wrong and I want to show you why I like it actually. Let's see, it should be right there. Oh shoot, let me screen share with you real quick. I think I did. So let's get rid of that and down here. So basically what I'm going to show you is, well, this is something else. No, where's the one I was looking at? Because, oh, not a Highland. It's Hilltop. There it is. Struggling. Yeah, what is this? I got to close that. I think I got too many things open. 1 second. Like 50 things open, it stops working. Yeah, exactly right. See? Okay, so let's see if this looks the way I want it. Oh, so improvements. Okay, so that's not what I was. Oh, okay, got it. Transaction report. So this isn't the right one. So let me find the right. Oh, you know what? She's not the one that sent it to me. Sorry, it was my VA. Sorry, guys. What's my VA's name? Tracy. Okay. Got to remember who I was dealing with here. That's when you know you're not actually paying attention. It's like, who works for me? I don't even know. Like, where am I at? An old guy walking around lost. So let's jump in. I'll show you what Tracy did for me. You've seen how it was all kind of mumbled together. Well, Tracy actually took it and she created a customized report that when I pull it out, you can see it actually goes by vendor and how much I spent with them. The reason I love this is because I can quickly look at each vendor and say, okay, 75 for the exterminator, BG&E 65 actually looks low. So I have questions. Now, the only thing is this house did have solar panels, so that might be legit. But then we look at the cabinets and look at the total for the cabinets. You guys think I spent $5,200 on cabinets, and there's actually 2 charges. So what does this look like? It looks like to me like another house got put on this house. So you see how quickly I can identify something that don't look right? I mean, I know I probably paid one of these 2 numbers. I'm not sure which one it is, but these sound right. I usually spend $2,000 to $3,000 on cabinets, and it's not a very big house. But I definitely didn't spend both. So now I got to go back and research and figure out how this extra got on there. And that's going to reduce that cabinet cost down. You know, we got carpet 1100, looks standard, drain scope standard. This $800, do some fence punch out standard. Now I'm looking at GTX. Now he does a lot of stuff for me, but $47,000 paid to my contractor. There's a really good chance that some of this is wrong. So based on this being a number that doesn't make sense to me, I got to go through and audit all this. Now it sounds a little insane to have to do that, but this is stuff you really need to know. Right, we want to know this. Now you see the way I'm doing it now is I'm being very vague and I'm not breaking it down. The way I'll be doing it in the future is I'm going to get crazy detailed materials, labor, and each thing, because I haven't done it because it's so much extra work, but my new coach has kind of told me like nothing's extra work. Just get a system, build it out, get someone to do it. And he's right. It's not a big deal. I could have someone do this in 10, 15 hours a week. I just personally don't have it. So a lot of this looks like it could be like this $7,000. He didn't get paid $7,000 in a week to do this job. This is probably this and something else he did, and it got all put on the same job. So this number is going to go down dramatically, but you see how easily I can start to look at these numbers and pick out the stuff that makes no sense at all. Now, if it was 5,200, I go and look and say, wow, I actually did spend 52. Well, now I got to go figure out why, and I got to pull receipts and take a look and figure out what the heck happened here, right? Why is it 5,200 bucks? Like, what am I doing? And then maybe I just made some poor decisions in the moment. Happens, right? We do it all the time. This is the kind of stuff you want to look at every job. So when you're done your rehab, really throughout your rehab, you want to be doing this weekly, no more than every other week, but I would actually tell you weekly, and I'll explain why, because I don't want to jump ahead. But if you do this weekly, and let's say that you're kind of building this up and you see current cabinetry, 2,900 bucks, you're going to be like, yeah, that was 2,900 for the cabinets. Awesome. You know what it's for. It's easy. Somebody comes back and says, cabinets, what does this charge? Because remember, this won't be in the job, right? It starts somewhere else and ends up in the job. And say it comes up in your feed and it says $2,300 for cabinet. What house was that for 4 months ago? Like zero chance you're going to know exactly what house that was for and know that that was for 102 West Hilltop. You're just not going to know, right? No one would. But if they asked you and it's like from 3 days ago, you'll be like, 3 days ago, I bought that for Hilltop. So what we found is me and my mom and Steve, my project manager, would go through and audit the account once a month to get anything that was in the wrong house or, things where we just didn't know where it would go. And we literally would take around anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to do research on each one. My mom spent 2 days one time getting the answers to all the questions of like, where does this number go to? What does that number go to? And she got it all right after 2 days. Then we decided to do it weekly, and the same job was legitimately taking 15 minutes because what was happening instead, she would be pulling it up and saying, what is 2,900 for cabinets? Where did we do cabinets 3 days ago? Hilltop. Okay, cool. Click Hilltop, submit, save. Done, right? It was no research, no calling the cabinet company, no going asking Steve, asking the contractor. It was basically like CSI. Like you had to call 5 people. We'd be calling Home Depot, waiting for a call back. I mean, it's tedious when you do it once a month. But if you literally do it every couple of days, it's so easy because the way QuickBooks works is when you got something in your feed, you just hit a button and it's in, right? You just answer a couple questions and hit submit. Like what house is it for? What category is it going under? All those things. And you just answer those couple questions, hit submit, you're done. So if you know the information, it's really quick to do. But also then this is the kind of basic breakdown that we get. So you can see it says we only spent about $11,000 at Home Depot, $1,100,000 on this. Peter Green, $3,800 in trash. That seems a little high. So I want to kind of audit that and figure out, is my brother making out like a bandit somehow? Richie Lumber, Sharon Williams, these all look right. Sure, Steve Munn, 2K, that's right. Unlimited Stone, 1650. These all look legitimate for me. But down there's another drain scopes for $200. So now I seen a $500. So I don't know if he charged me $200 to look at it and $500 to scope it. But if he did, I feel like that's a kind of high price and I might need to jump into that. So Ray, this is where you could start looking at because my mom, a lot of this gets automated and she's just paying this guy and she's just like, he's a great guy and he works hard. And so he just changes the price or something. She won't call and tell me. So that's why I should be looking at it weekly saying, this seems higher than what I used to pay. I used to pay $150, not $200. And you're supposed to keep the $150 price for me. And he didn't apparently. Now I'm paying $200 now that I can see that this is a recent house. So that's worth talking about because I give this guy a lot of repeat business and so do my students. And so with that being said, I need to know why I got raised up. Because one thing I can't stand, and that kind of always happens, I don't know why I complain about it, but I can't stand when I hook somebody up and give them a ton of work and get them I refer them and get them a lot of business. And then next thing you know, as they get busy, they increase their prices, but then they increase my price and forget that I'm the one that got them busy. Because there's nothing like a guy like Mike Green who then gives you to all your people locally and says, yeah, use my guy, he's awesome. And so, because getting clients costs money, right? It's expensive to generate a client through marketing. So if he was generating clients, he'd be paying a marketing fee. With me, he pays nothing. I don't ask for any kickback. I'm just like, take care of us, right? Give us a little better deal than random public. Most of the time people just forget, man, because they're just operators. So they kind of forget that, who's feeding them. And so I got to have a conversation with him. That's what I got from that. I got to figure out why that, what's wrong with the cabinets, why the contractor looked like he made $47,000, and then and what's going on with the drain scopes. And the Terminex guy, the guy who's doing the termites looks a little expensive too. I think we could cut that down. We might be able to cut both of them down by quite a bit every house, saving a good amount of money. Or I'll go negotiate a better deal with someone else because you think there's not a new guy out there that's hungry to come do drain scopes for $150? It takes like an hour and a half. not a big deal, man, to make $150. And I give them, you know, for 30, 40 a year plus all my students, you know, it's a pretty solid startup. So anyhow, you can see the basics, right, of how I look at it. That's what it looks like if you take and put it by vendor. I like looking at it by vendor because you can see it works for my brain to be able to say like, okay, I know this vendor shouldn't have made but X roughly. And if it looks way out of line, then it suggests that I might need to figure out what's going on with it. So, all right, I'm not going to bore everyone to death with bookkeeping, but if you guys have any bookkeeping questions, and I think the bigger lesson from this was not just how to hire a bookkeeper, but how to hire anyone to do anything, because the same process that we use to hire Ray's bookkeeper, he's going to be using is the exact same process you would hire to get someone to do, you know, odds and ends for you every day, right? All these things are very, you know, it's a system. It took me 5 years and 35 VAs to get this right, to show you how I'm picking and what I'm doing. And this process, if followed really well, like I basically just hire good people. And if I hire bad people, they're in and out quickly. Like, you know, I'm not saying I get all perfect people, but I get some, you know, some duds, they're in and out fast because, you know, they get in there, they can't do it, and I just get rid of them. And the cool thing is I just go right back to the, you know, to the board, repost the ad, and next thing you know, I got 29 more people asking to work for me. So it's a very powerful tool, you know, so much more. Don't you wish, Nikki, you could do that for your servers and chefs? I mean, you know, get like VAs to do it. It'd be pretty awesome, right? You just be like, hey, man, you show up today. I just put an ad on Upwork and I got 412 Filipinos ready to fly to America to work in my restaurant for the money you're making. I mean, man, that'd be nice. I mean, but most of what we do as flippers, by the way, can actually be done online, and they do not need to be done remotely. So, you know, like you can take almost project management can be done remotely. Bookkeeping obviously can be done remotely. Design can be done remotely. You can take and hire people to do drawings, believe it or not. You literally, you know, the drawings we do on graph paper, you can give them those drawings and you can send it to somebody in the Philippines. And if they're really good at what they're doing and they have some understanding, they can put you together some nice drawings and you could submit it to the permit yourself and, you know, maybe get it done for $200 instead of $800. I haven't done that yet, but it can be done. I know someone who was doing it, and so it's very possible. Because, you know, unless it's like a structural thing that needs a, you know, stamp on it or anything, if you're just doing general permits, I've actually handed in some stuff I've done on like white paper and they accepted it, as long as it has the things they need. So you can totally do all that, by the way. So anyhow, with that being said, what other questions do you guys have about bookkeeping or anything else like system-wise, hiring VAs and stuff?
Mike, do you track your holding costs separately from, like, because the spreadsheet that you just showed, that was pretty much like labor, material. I did see like one BG&E, because what I'm doing right now is I track, so I have one spreadsheet for materials, which is basically done through, it's normally done through a debit card for the account. And then I do like the second sheet for all of the checks that I write, but then I have two columns. One is like labor, and then the other one is like holding costs, which is like, you know, obviously the insurance and the Brookane and.
So I track holding cost, interest, settlement costs, and improvements, or, you know, renovation costs essentially. And probably something else, but about 5 or 6 things, not very many things, but I do separate those 5 or 6 things. Now within the improvements, what I'm going to start doing now is I put everything in improvements and then just put a memo what it is. But what I'm going to start doing now is actually cost segregating it and doing job costing. So I'm going to start like breaking it down in higher level details so I can really dive in and figure out how to drive my cost down even farther.
You mean job costing, so essentially looking at every single line item and combining like material and labor just to see.
Yeah. So basically sending like a Home Depot receipt that has like some electric switches, a couple 2x4s, and maybe some sheetrock on it, and maybe you know, something else, a toilet. Well, I would send that to my VA and teach them how to take and split it. It would be the same receipt, but it would get split from different, well, we put it under services. So it gets split as different services. So a little bit, certain amount would go under plumbing, a certain amount would go under electric, and a certain amount would go under, you know, whatever else, like sheetrock and framing. So if we have all those separate at the end, you'll be able to look and say, my budget was X, right? I had a line item budget and it was $3,800 total. Over here, my labor and materials was 3750. So I did well, or it was 5100. What the hell happened? And then if you see that, then you can actually look at every little detail and say, did something accidentally get put on this job, or did people buy crazy amount of material that seems like it's too much, or just did I make a mistake when I estimate it? All those things are possible, but we get the feedback to figure that out. So when we estimate the next property, we can make sure we're estimating correctly. The one thing that I don't take into account though is if the labor goes up, because the labor is more controlled than the materials. We can't really, unless you buy it from like Johnson Lumber versus Home Depot, then obviously then you are part of why the materials are more expensive, because Johnson Lumber is about 20 to 30% more than Home Depot on average. So it's going to cost you a lot more going to that supplier. But when, if you go to the cheapest place, it should be basically a set cost that for the most part you can get pretty accurate on. Now, we both know when you hire a contractor, that's not the case. That's a revolving thing depending on what you're in the mood to pay. But if you stick to it and you only pay them $2,500 instead of $3,000, when then you'll stay on budget. Because as soon as you pay $3,000, the first thing you got to figure out is like, okay, where in the heck am I gonna go ahead and like find that $500 I paid extra in labor, and where am I going to steal it back from? So yeah, job costing, again, when you're doing a couple of rehabs a year, you don't necessarily need it. It becomes a higher level tool once you're doing over about 10 houses a year to really drive your costs down. Now, once I build some systems out, obviously in this higher level group, I can share them with you and, really show you how you might be able to get someone else to kind of do it for you and just be like, hey, Nikki, here you go. It's you pay a small amount of money and then it's just there for you. That might be worth it. Like it might be something you're interested in doing. But it would make sense to do that after me and Ray kind of hammer out a lot of the details over the next couple months, because then it's just going to be a lot easier for you to do that then if you want.
I do it now, like just kind of in an idiot sort of way. I don't have any specific system, but I'm like, that's why I'm always spastic over TJ bringing me the receipts, because, when you're only doing one house, it's hard to figure out if you're on budget unless you know exactly. So I kind of take the receipts and break it apart, and I might just do it on like a piece of scratch paper or something like that, but just to make sure, with the bigger stuff anyway, like the roof and the waterproofing and, the electrical and the plumbing and stuff like that, I will break out all of I don't do it so detailed as into, line item and in like the spreadsheet, I usually just will put in like the full amount that was spent. I don't break out all of that stuff, but that's
I think that when you're doing like one house at a time, maybe even two, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I would actually advise that over getting too insanely in the weeds with QuickBooks, because I know a lot of people are like, want to set everything up perfectly before they do their first flip, but it makes sense to set that stuff up at the right time, because, it will actually cause your business to like slow down while you're trying to implement all of it. Because when you're focusing on all that stuff, you're not focusing on finding deals, running your funnel, getting costs down, just getting your flip done, essentially. There's a lot of work you have to do on your first 3 to 5 flips, maybe even up to your first 10 flips, and it's foundation building. So when you're in foundation building mode, I recommend don't set Podia up, don't set up like, high-level QuickBooks. You really don't need most of that stuff when you're just doing the first 10 houses. First 10 houses, focus on what really matters, how you find deals and how you find the people to renovate them, and, and layout and the construction and learning the basics and the foundations of all that. So pretty important stuff. What other questions do you have?
Mike, I got a quick question. I shot through, and it was last minute. I didn't know if I was going to get a hold of you, but a Marco Polo video, and I tried to put the comps on there. So the most recent sold was October of last year, and there really wasn't anything that was identical to it. And then there's a couple that are pending now. Like one doesn't have a finish. Like, how do you typically try and put a value to something when there's not like a layover for a comp? So there's one that's pending for 369, 370 with a finished basement, and all the square footages are almost identical, give or take like 50 square feet in the same subdivision. So one was pending at 370, finished basement, but with like no upgrades, original from when it was built.
Okay.
And my next comp was $399 pending unfinished basement.
Oh, wow. So are you going to be finished basement, similar square footage, or?
It was on an auction. It got bid way up higher than I think anybody's going to get it. So I think it'll be back. So that was the reason I had sent them. But we would finish the basement, yes.
And are those the two highest comps, the 370 and the 390 something?
There's one that sold for 370, and in the video, I think I flipped the screen around on the Marco Polo to show you the actual condition. There was one that sold for 370, just sold in October of last year. No concessions, sold in like 11 days. Finished basement, but it was only 3,000 square feet, and we're like 3,650. So I was asking the question of, how do you put a value to 650 square feet, all other things being equal?
I mean, you basically just pull for that subdivision, go a couple years back and just see what some of the highest solds are. And you don't ever really want to break that by too much, because even if you considerably, based on the math, should be worth more than, the highest solds, you kind of don't want to really test that market. Now, for many reasons, obviously, the market just might be weak after 400K. I mean, you have one comp at 400K, one at 370. It's clear that you're better than the 370 because you'll be fully renovated. That also was a year ago sale. The market has went up in a year. The 400 sounds similar to yours, but no finished basement. But the problem is, if you can't find anything that's higher than 400, no matter how far back,
I wouldn't go higher than 400. I was trying. I believe I asked, like, hey, I think I said, do you think 380 is a stretch? Because they got 370, fully updated stage. I mean, a gorgeous home. They got 370 in a week and a half.
Oh, the 370 was actually a nice home. It wasn't. I thought it
was gorgeous. No,
so it's really nice.
There's one pending.
But $600, 600 square feet less though.
Yeah.
A year ago. Okay, got it. So that's actually a pretty good comp, just smaller. So yeah, you're definitely 100. I mean, 10K. So the way you normally are supposed to do it is you basically take the square footage to how much it's selling per square foot,
which was like $74,000 though. So I knew that.
I was going to tell you not taking the exact square footage. You generally take about 30 to 50% of that actual value. And now if you try it, it's going to be about 20 to 30,000 bucks, which I think may be right. It might be like, I mean, if you only put 10 or 15 on it at this price point, it would be a no brainer that, you're probably worth that. Honestly, if you were selling a 370, the exact same house a year later, it might be 380 now. And way you price things and the way you make them look really nice and then price them to where people drive stuff up, you might even, in the same scenario where the guy got 370, you might be able to get 380 just doing it a little better. So I would definitely say you're 380, maybe 390. Especially
I wasn't sure what value to put on, because again, it was almost identical. But I wasn't sure, since the houses are already so big and they have finished basements. Does that have like downward, like, is extra 100 square foot's valuable, but is it still as valuable?
I mean, it's definitely worth. I mean, so a lot of people try to do the exact value, which is insane. Like you said, it'd be 70K. But if you're doing like 30 cents of the value, or 30% or 40% of the value, it's definitely worth that. Like, all day long usually. So it's always going to have more value. It's 600 square feet. I mean, it's, I've seen things in areas similarly priced, newer construction, and, something 600 square foot bigger, and you might see a difference of like 375, like versus 410, 400. So yeah.
And I don't want to go that aggressive, because I looked at it where we were trying to decide how high to bid up on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I told Hannah, I'm like, I can't, I'm like, 600 square feet tells me, and a comp pending. So the comp that's pending is actually on the same court that we're on, like it's across the street, and they're pending at 399, same square footage, same bedrooms, bathrooms, everything. But I told her, I'm like, in my gut, I can't.
Just like one comp. Yeah, it's kind of hard to go from comp.
I'm like, I can't go over 380 in my gut, but now I'm wondering, like, could I have listed this at 389 since that other one got 370?
Well, I mean, you might have listed it at 380 and got 390, because that pretty much happens on most of your deals. You listed at a conservative price and then generally get more.
You would use a 380 and run your numbers. You would definitely err on the side.
380 probably need to make about 40K on that because of that price point, 40, 45. Okay. Knowing that it easily has upside. At 380, I would definitely think you have upside. Your model that me and you kind of put together over the last 14 months is crushing it. I mean, it works on every single house. You literally price things aggressively, do a nice job, and you end up getting more than anyone else every single time. Like, it's like,
that's what I told Hannah. Like, that's like the cliffhanger for me, because I'm like, If there's one pending at 399 with no finished basement, I told her, I'm like, if we listed at 380,
Hmm.
I'm like, does it, we've gotten a minimum of 10 on each one. I'm like, do I use 390 for the ARV? And we both agreed like not to
No.
bank on it.
I don't think you should bank on it. I think you have the perfect balance right now. You get it quite often, but you're not banking on it. So like you're not ever going to be in a situation where you get really disappointed and end up flipping a house and don't make any money on it because, because if you go out at 390 and that is too much for the market and you sit on the market a while, then you get the complete opposite of what you've been getting. All your magic has been because of like everything you're doing is so lined up perfectly now. It's much like what I've basically done in my business, just line everything up because it's all optimized. So you're getting a very optimized result. So what you want to be careful of now is changing anything you're currently doing. And,
Okay.
so, every house, right? We always go with the number we know for a fact will sell. And then, we're not going super conservative, but we'll push it to what the comps are, knowing that you often get more than the comps because you're just so much better than most of the comps. You definitely
Okay.
fall into a nice place. With that being said, if you want to get a little more information and go more detailed, if there are other subdivisions that are like within a mile or so that are similar, you might look and get a feel for if someone was shopping that area, what other options would they have?
Yeah,
Can they
that was
buy a
it.
house up the street? So there's really no
Yeah.
other 3,600 square foot new constructions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What do things sell for outside of the neighborhood in general? A lot less because they're just not as nice. It sounds.
Now, in that area, in this specific part of town, there was a huge boom in '04 to '07 in this specific 10 square mile radius. But the thing is, there's kind of like streams and rivers running through it. So a lot of the area was not buildable, if you will. So if you go out a mile search, a
Mhm.
lot of the properties are on maybe half acre lots. So a mile search doesn't get you as tight of a
Yeah.
radius or
Okay.
as
Many
many
houses.
comps.
Yeah. All right. What do they sell for on a half acre lot? So, what are those selling for?
Um, I mean, the 399 was the highest. I just don't know where that's actually going to close. We
Oh, yeah.
have, so we actually have on that house, it would have one of the biggest, it's got like a half acre lot that backs to woods.
Yeah. It
So
sounds like a
definitely,
great house. So, yeah. Okay. No, I agree. I probably go to 380 on it. I wouldn't push it to 390. You get 390, great, but don't depend on it. I agree with that. That's a
okay,
great way to think about it. And maybe this ain't the house, right? You know that if you put enough offers in, you always get one. So sometimes they're not going to fit. Depends on how nice it is or if they get the right buyer. You're right that it probably will fall through though, because that's super common. Like when they buy it on like Hubzu and all that, that people always fall through.
yeah,
Okay.
no, they did. They just bid it up way too high. Like there's no way you can move into it either. It's not insurable.
Oh, okay. So that
So no,
actually,
so it's got to be an investor. I think after the buyer's premium, they were paying like 290 for it. It got bid up to like 260 something.
mhm.
So I'm like, there's no way they're for a 3,600 square foot house. You're just not rehabbing it. You're not doing it.
Yeah. What did you think what you were going to spend on it?
We put in for 65 just because of the size of it, and it was
Yep.
a short sale before. So when
Okay.
the people left, they left probably 4 dumpsters just full of just every room's filled.
I did a 3,300 square foot house that was 10 years old and I had a
Yeah,
40K budget on it and it came in at 62 and I was shocked. And
we put 65 on the budget.
I was like, how did it needed nothing? I saved everything and somehow I spent 62,000.
Yeah,
But it was a good lesson because I looked, my brain was thinking a lot like every house I do. And if that was a normal, say 1,800, 2,000 square foot house, I would have spent 40 on it. But when you start talking 3,400, 3,500 square feet, it's essentially two houses.
yeah,
Everything costs double. If you're paying 2K for paint, you're paying 4K for paint now.
yeah,
Carpets 2,000, it's 4,000. Everything costs more. 5,
yeah,
6,000 for cabinets. It's just everything's more and costs more. So yeah, sometimes it's hard for your brain when you do so many of the same houses. It was hard for me to make that jump, but I did learn the lesson from that one. I still ended up making pretty good money on it, like 30 or 40K, but I could have made like 50 or 60 if I'd actually gotten the budget right. Or I wouldn't have gotten a deal if I'd have gotten the budget right. I would have passed. So I guess I'm not unhappy, but a little lesson
yeah.
learned.
Yeah, so
Okay,
we'll see.
cool. Any
All
other
right.
questions before we're going to jump to, we got a couple things I want to go over. Gigi has a property you want to evaluate and Brian looks like he has something under contract. So obviously I'm going to jump into that if there's no questions from this group and anyone in here. Nancy, Gerhard, anyone, feel free to jump up. Obviously it's still your time. Okay, looks like everyone's good. So I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to start with Gigi's because he was first in line, and I'm going to do Brian's. And what we're going to go over with Gigi is he was supposed to send me some stuff. Let's see. So you said check your email. I forwarded you my video and my Excel file. Perfect, awesome. That's what I'm looking for. And then Brian said he just signed a contract. The agent told me I'm at the top, but most likely I'll be accepted. Okay, sweet. Did you say you're at the top, but most likely? Okay, got it. All right. I thought maybe it was saying you're not at the top, but most likely be accepted. Well, cool. We want to look at that, Brian. It's the perfect time to actually look at it, is before you actually have to give them a deposit, because yeah, that's when you kind of want to find out if you're right or wrong about everything you're assuming. So let's take a quick look at Gigi's. I'm going to have to pull out my email very quickly. And Gigi had a deal in. Let's see. So there's a video. Gigi, do you mind just giving me a little bit of an update on everything you're doing? Because part of why I wanted to review this is I wanted you to get used to, every time I go to a deal, one thing that I found that's been really effective for me, and I just started doing it about 2 years ago, is I would go to a deal, and like if I just got out the deal, or the numbers didn't work, I'd kind of quit and leave. And I realized once I go to the house and I start doing most of the work, that about 85% of the work's done. So it makes sense to go ahead and get the other 15% done and come to a conclusion. So that way, if the deal, like Ray said, one of the way Ray's getting a lot of deals is he looks at stuff that goes under contract, but he knows it's likely going to fall apart. That happens a lot these days. Like if a homeowner beats you out, there's a really good chance it won't go to settlement. And it'd be nice if you already had your numbers lined up and ready and you could do a follow-up on it. A lot of deals come that way. So the only way you can really do that, though, is while you have everything fresh in your head, to finalize your numbers and be like, this is what I'll pay. At least have a general understanding of where you would be in case it pops back on the market, or maybe you want to call and check in with the agent in a couple of weeks. And they're like, no, by the way, Gigi and Linda, this is falling apart. Yeah, good timing. Sabrina actually has gotten a handful of deals in PG County that way, because she just, she keeps following up with people, and you'd be surprised most of the time when you get beat out by someone who overpaid. Ray's actually seen this a bunch. It comes back on the market. And so being prepared and ready to no, I can get you an offer in hand. See, when a deal falls apart, an agent feels responsible because they feel like they picked this person. So know that they're in a very vulnerable place at that point, where the bank now is judging them for going, for telling them to go under contract with someone who actually does not perform. So they don't want to look bad, because remember, the bank's giving them a lot of listings, and the asset manager could fire them. So what do they really want is someone to be able to go to their asset manager and say, you know what? That person fell apart, but I got Gigi and Linda, and they're ready to roll. They're good. They got all their documents together, and I'm going to replace them with that and get you the exact same offer or whatever it is. The bank's usually ready to go because they kind of just want to move on with it. And the realtor is looking for any ability to potentially save face. So it really does end up being some very, very opportune time, because they don't really want to put it back on the market and go through, talking 19 people and looking at all the offers and 2 weeks going by. They just don't want to do that if they don't have to. So if you got that good timing of calling in, you actually will get a decent amount of deals. This technique works in San Diego. We've seen it work in San Diego, Toronto, everywhere, but it's the technique that works. It's that level 2 of digging. So since you've already went out and you've kind of done some numbers on it, what I would suggest is let's finalize it. But what I want to do, because I wanted you to learn a little bit from it, obviously, is I'd like you to tell me what you thought the numbers were, and then for us to kind of evaluate that against it. You actually might have told me your email, so let me check and see. Upload the video, since because that's a big part of it. If you plan to submit an offer, okay, it has sewer and well. Okay, got it. So I remember this deal now. I think it was, oh yeah, this is Terry Royce. Okay, got it. I think I sent it to you actually, because I've seen it. It's kind of out your way, and just thought, let me send it to you just in case. So let's see what you got. You probably have all your numbers on here. Okay, so this is your Excel sheet. So this probably will tell us everything we need to know. Everyone can see the screen, right? Okay, cool. So 400K, 90K in work, 222 is the price, showing 27,000 in profit. So obviously that needs to be less, because you don't want to do 27,000 on a deal that big. Basically when you look at this, you see it's 78%. If you go to the underwriting criteria for something at that price point, you're looking at around 72%. So what we do is probably just take this offer down by like 210. Let's just, I don't think I can actually change it, but no, let me open it with Google Sheets here, or Google, whatever sheets will work. I gotta open it up with some Google Sheets. 1 second, guys.
Hey, Mike, you're not sharing the screen.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm gonna make sure I'm doing that now. I'll bring you guys up.
So just while you bring that up, I just want to give an update. It was actually, we seen it as a wholesale, but within a day or so, it was actually listed in MLS.
Well, this person he will list it in the MLS all the time. That's his move.
Okay.
That's how he markets his properties. He lists them in the NOL. So it says, those may be dropped. Yeah, continue editing. Okay. So this says 78%, but I don't think it actually is working. So this might be broke. But what I can say is that, you're probably going to be like a 200 maybe. And that's assuming all your numbers are right. You would want to make a little more money on a house this big. So you probably could be around like maybe 207 is kind of where I would probably max out. It's a pretty big property. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff that's not simple on it. So I would want to make probably 43 to 50. It'll probably be more 50. The reason I'm okay with like Ray doing properties like this is the properties he's doing are like 15 years old. So they're in great shape. And so he can actually go on very tight margins because he has a couple things happening very well. Because they're so easy, well, he doesn't go over budget very often. And, he's never going to run into a bunch of stuff that puts him 20K over budget. Also, because they're so new, they have very consistent sales prices and they're very desirable. They have a great market. So this house with, it has well and septic and has all these things, I would say it has more room for error. So probably would go back to 200 on this because, and not being greedy that I'd want to make 50, but I'd probably want at least to make 50 because it is a more risky deal on a scale of 1 to 10. It's definitely a little bit higher. But now the numbers all match, right? We got almost 15%. We got 57. I'm assuming this would be right if it was working. You got about 51K. So the next thing kind of back through this would be to look and say, okay, can we get it done for 90? And is 400K actually the comp? Because that's when we get out to rural areas, the comps get way more complicated, in my opinion, because you don't have as many to look at. And, land's going to play a factor in it. Its position on the land, its position in the neighborhood. There's so many little factors that matter. And because you don't have a big buyer's pool. So, when you're selling, it could matter, all these things. But, it is from a wholesaler. So in my experience, I've gotten one good deal from him ever and one bad deal. And I've known him for 10 years.
Mike, I know a guy who lives in the local area, and he mentioned the houses in there goes for approximately 375 to 400.
Okay.
I put the highest amount in there, but the asking price or the listed price is 329.
Oh, so this is even close to 329 then. So, okay, you're right. And it's never going to work, obviously, if he wants 329 for it because we're so far away. Now, I'm not sure how he got to that number, but, forget what let's look at the MLS and see what we come up with because, he could be right or he could be wrong, but it's, Terry's generally not wrong, just so you know. He's high. He wants too much for his properties, but never by 100K. The guy usually doesn't make many mistakes. So I can almost tell you the value based on what Terry's trying to sell it for because he's been doing this a long time and he always wants 20 to 30K more than it's worth, but not 120K more than it's worth. So if I'm thinking it's 200, Terry's trying to sell it for 320, somebody's wrong. Either I'm wrong or he's wrong. Generally, since he knows the deal and he actually decided to put money out on it, he probably is at an advantage on me right now. So once we go to the MLS, however, let's go through and I'll tell you if there potentially is upside or, there's something going on that maybe we're missing. So, because that's always going to be good for this. So 1 acre, Woodbine, that's it. Do you know how many, 1 mile, but do you know how many acres it's actually on? We're going to go back like 1,000 days because it's attached. Guys, we're going to need to go back a little bit, a little far out. So you only got 16 matches. That tells you a lot about where you're at. And so we see we've got 700, 600s, 500s. I mean, there's a lot of houses there. Here's one on Duval, that 450 right there. That's on your street. And let's see what it looks like in comparison to yours. I think you said yours was pretty big too, from what I remember. Like, let's look at it real quick. You gave it to me, so let me go and find that real fast. That's not what I need. That's what okay, we'll get there in a second. Sorry guys, I'm just weeding through here. Let me jump back into the email. It's always the fastest way to get back where you need to be. Okay, so we're going to basically just look at the movie here. If it's Okay, so we've got a nice house. That's good. Looks pretty nice.
Mike, on the Excel sheet, the Redfin link is there. That shows you the pictures outside. I deleted all the pictures, but I have a video. That's the one that I've uploaded.
Okay. Okay, so what would you, if you had to explain what kind of house do you think it is? Like a rancher, Cape Cod, colonial?
It's a rancher.
Okay. Do you know the square footage?
It's a 2,200.
Oh, that's a big rancher. That's a nice house. Okay. And how many acres is it on? Roughly? I mean, I want it to be exact, but look that up, bro. Well, you know, I'll look it up. I'll actually see it in a second, but let me go. I'm going to play. So what I do when I'm watching the videos, I basically put them on 1.75 speed. So I just need to see a quick like view. So, you know, he's going to sound like he's rolling. Actually, we can cut his audio off, but here's the good news. The house looks like you can save a lot. I mean, this house is pretty nice. It's got wood windows, but they're nice wood windows that could be saved. So a lot of those things can be saved. You know, the walls can be painted. The hardwood can be sanded. Actually, it's really nice. Barely even needs to be sanded. In a country home, we don't necessarily have to open everything up. So one of the things you definitely could do with this house is absolutely sell it the exact way it is. Maybe stain the cabinets, throw some granite, some stuff in there, and that would be it for the kitchen. You could literally not open this house up because it is a nicer, newer house. It's really a nice house, actually. You know, it's got some big rooms and beautiful hardwood. I mean, you might not even have to sand that. So we might be talking about, so far from what I've seen, we might be talking more of like a, you know, kind of clean up house for at this point, because it is a very nice house and, you know, got HVAC, very good condition. For out in the woods, people don't expect like New York style gutted walls all open. They just expect something to be clean, livable. And so you'll see often when you're out in rural areas that you won't get a whole lot more if you renovate something versus you just clean it out and make it really nice and fresh. Because that's all they really expect, right? They're more buying it for the neighborhood, the school systems. You see that in Ellicott City, by the way. You know, like a lot of things you buy are not going to be like gutted and rehab. They're just going to be nice, livable homes. So like something like that, you can clean that up and save it. You obviously would need a new vanity because it got broke, but you can save that toilet. You know, new carpet and paint these rooms, so not a whole lot. Probably if we were going to spend any money, and this is something Ray does a lot in his houses because he runs into houses. This is the condition of most of his houses. You know, we might put something, a little money into the master suite, but keep the other bathrooms just nice. You don't have to go too crazy. Fix some doors, you know, a couple doors are beat up. 2,200 square feet. Okay, I'm sure we'll see. This is another hall bath. That we're going to save that, stain the cabinet, save it nice. And then this must be the master, assuming there's probably a bath in here. It looks like it would be. Oh, okay, there it is. So there's the master.
Sharing the screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. You guys don't see this? Crap. Thought I was. 1 second. Thanks for speaking up, everyone. I must be a good narrator. Everyone's like riveted by my verbal description of the property. I feel like you guys want me to rewind it, let me know. But if not, I'll keep going. You get a feel for it, though. Essentially, it's a pretty nice house. I do want to give you a little bit of it. I feel like you missed a lot. So just to get a feel for the overall, it's actually pretty clean. Hardwood. You can see there's a lot of savable stuff in this house. And because we're out in the rural area, we would not have to do like a full gut rehab on this. We could save almost, 95% of the stuff. Clean it up, make it really nice, clean, livable, fix things. If we were going to really fix something up and maybe put like $5 grand into it, probably be the master suite, because obviously that's the decision maker. So if we can make that really nice, they're not going to care that the extra bathrooms have, you know, vinyl tubs in them. As long as you make them nice and clean and, you know, they don't feel like we're living in a dump, they'll be more than satisfied with them. So you got a couple doors you might need to replace, super cheap. That's not going to cost a lot of money. There's a little bit of furniture in the house, but that's no big deal. You can move that out easily. Carpet, you know, it wouldn't be a lot to demo this. Even this bathroom, like, we'll keep that completely. There's nobody can complain about that. Paint it, you know, clean up the tub, maybe put a vanity in if you want, or just stain it. The master suite's nice. Everything size-wise looks really good. We might decide to either maybe keep that tub and just retile everything would be really nice and put a new vanity in here. So when I say fix this up, you know, we might just retile it all, right? Put nice new tile in, a new vanity. That's generally all you have to do, a new toilet and some lights and paint it, and it looks brand new. And that probably going to cost a couple grand, honestly. It's not overly expensive to do that. Maybe put that like $3,500 just to make that bathroom nice. let's see. We're going to be able to look. So this is all really nice. I would actually keep this exactly the same. Nice deck. It's a little dirty, but it looks like it is Trex, so it probably can be cleaned. If it cannot be cleaned, then you can easily paint it or stain it. You can do something with it, but very nice yard. A lot of nice stuff going on with that house. Gigi, the basement, was it a finished basement or unfinished basement?
Well, that's a mystery because we do not have access to the basement from the inside, only from outside, and we didn't have the keys to get in.
Oh, so it has no entrance to the basement from the inside. Okay, that's interesting. That's odd, right? That's very odd. I'm assuming that it's like a, I don't know, maybe a walk down basement, but not probably like a finishable basement. So I'm going to just assume that it has a basement, but it's not finishable. I mean, it's all we know.
It has a door. I went outside and trying to take a look at it, but I didn't have the key to get in. So that's where the furnace, the hot water heater, I can see from outside.
Okay. Let's see if we can find, this is yours at 329. So let's look at that first. Okay, so that's what our house looks like, much like the comp says 4.3, 2,400 square feet. Really nice. That's super nice. Let's see what it says for the basement. What they're saying, nothing. So that generally means there's no basement essentially, or no basement that you can actually do anything with. Okay, so 7 days in foreclosure. So this is actually, so it's being sold as cash private financing. You can see basically you have to use New World title. It's an assignment sale. So see, this is the wholesaler just putting it on the MLS, and you can make an offer at MD Discount Homes /offer. So he's just putting it on the MLS to get more traction with it. So just basically, and we've already seen the house, but looks nice. What I was looking for actually while I came over is I wanted to see what the lot size was. See if we can locate that very quickly. 1.33 acres. Okay, so you got 2,400 square foot, 1.33 acres. Basement, not finishable, so really no basement, but might have one for storage. It looks like it'd probably be storage there. So when we're looking at some of these, we got to be careful. We're obviously not picking stuff that has basements, but let's take a look. Let's just go through it. Not a lot to look at, so we can kind of look at everything. I mean, we know we're not the 1.4, assuming that's going to be a pretty 5,100 square feet. So yeah, we get what that's going for. 40 some hundred square foot is how we get to 780. See 5,100, 750. So you can get a feel. These are pretty large houses. That's a very new looking house. 700. Yeah, 3,200. Very nice looking. You see the price going down and down. That's a really nice looking house. I love the picture of that. That's pretty stately looking. Well, 5 acres. Now this is starting to get more like a house like ours, but still bigger, a little nicer, 2-car garage. I mean, you know, overall nicer house, but similar square footage. So honestly, on 3 acres though, so that does mean something. Now this house right here is 2,700 for 3. See if we can actually get it out. So that's just a rancher, much like ours. And it's on 4 acres though. So actually being on an acre might feel small, but what I want to show you a little bit about this sold, look at the condition of this house. This is yeah, man, this ain't nothing special. I mean, it's a nice kitchen. You can see I got a pretty nice kitchen, but it's not insanely nice. It's just nice, right? I mean, everything's clean. Look, they got top brown tile, brown toilet. Look how they saved the old stuff in the bathroom. You see how they got away with this? Look, you got blue tile in here. There's still pool, you know, pink room. I mean, this is a nice house. It's very clean, but this is totally out of date, but very nice and livable. By the way, so this house is acceptable in this area. You know, people are buying it because they have a big yard and land and all that. And this is a very clean house, but it's definitely, you know, it does have a basement, obviously, so that's huge. It's a little more square footage. The things that matter for a house like this is obviously that your HVAC's newer, your electric, your plumbing, all that's nice. The windows are nice. You know, you're not going to have anything dumpy in it. So they picked up $535 on that for the basement, $20K in help. So, I mean, yeah, I would think that you're probably higher than 400 just based on a few things we're seeing, but we're going to keep looking. Now, this one's a 3.2, 1,900 square feet. Let's see how we compare to this. We kind of compare very well from square footage. It's a rancher much like ours, so I'd say this house is probably a little inferior to ours. It's got this pondo that it must be on, so I don't know what that's about. We have to look into that.
That pond is being shared between the neighbors.
Yes, got it, but that's in their yard, so that's kind of awesome. Kind of like a fake waterfront house. Oh, look at the view though. I mean, that's kind of that's going to be hard to kind of compare against, which makes sense though, because it's a very small house. It's not all that nice. And they got a pretty strong number for it, but I don't think we're comparable to that, obviously. So I don't want to compare us to that because I think we're probably not comparable to that. So, because that's just going to be unique, right? We don't want to kind of pull that one in. So let's leave. It's active too, by the way, it didn't sell, so we'll leave that one out. And then as we keep going through, we're looking for the stuff that really out as being similar. This is on Duval and looks very similar. It's only 1,400 and some square feet. It's a little different looking house. Let's see what the condition is. I mean, it does have the garage. Looks, you know, very nice looking, but at the end of the day, this one is renovated, but you can even see like this is the style of how they renovate. It's going to be much more warm and homely feeling, right? You know, something that's more woodsy, not going to be like the, you know, the modern stuff as much. You know, all this is like even like wood beds and stuff, just totally acceptable. You know, see how they left the plastics around?
Mike, you're
Yes.
not sharing your screen again.
Oh, how did that happen? What, are you jumping off or something? Oh no, it must be, I am sharing it, but I don't know how that keeps jumping off on me. Okay, let's see. Share it one more time. Okay, so you guys can see this one. So you get a feel for these comps, how they're very clean, but like how they're like just a, you know, it's just a standard shower, nothing special, you know, nothing too crazy, just really nice little houses, but you know, they're not totally like the most updated houses. And this is pretty nice though, in general. I mean, it's a very nice, well-maintained home, but only like 1,400 square foot, 4.3, and they did pick up. Let's see what they got, 450, 445. It's close, let's see. So if you were to renovate that house, I mean, I would think you're, you know, safely 425 to 440. We can keep looking. Let's see, what was the square, what was the lot sizes of these? Some of these have some pretty big lots. You want to be careful of that. Make sure I'm not, okay. Yeah, so that's actually got a similar lot size, around an acre or like 1.3. This is a pretty decent comp, actually. You know, if we're renovated, I think we could be up there with this comp. It's kind of a little nicer than us, but if you're renovated, you'd actually probably be nicer in a few other ways. So it seems like, you know, being in the 400s in this area, you're definitely on the cheaper side. Now, this one I seen, I thought was very similar to us. It's only a 3.2. You're clearly going to be better than 3.2. You know, let's see. Very nice. Got a little barn. That's kind of cool. Very nice looking, just very clean. Again, I mean, you see, I don't even know what they did there, which I find funny. They actually kept the old cabinets and painted the bottom brown and the top white. Threw some appliances in, nice top. And honestly, it don't look bad. It's kind of funny, actually. I mean, I'll give them a little credit. That's very creative. They even kept like the old, you know, old linoleum floor and stuff. And again, you can see just a plain, you know, surround, nothing special. But overall, this house is pretty clean, very livable, does have a basement. So Gigi, I might go ahead and say you're probably right. You're probably 400K, honestly. So, I mean, you know, because the reason I'm kind of backing it down some is these actually have basements and you don't, even though you're 22. So if you look at a house that's 1,300 and you're 22, you kind of have the same living square footage as they do. Actually, let's see what their total is. Total's like, yeah, their total's 2,600, you're 2,400. So them having a basement is not very different than you not having it because, you know, you actually just have it all above grade. So I think you're probably 400, 420 max. A little bit difficult to comp, but what we can both agree upon is that there probably ain't a number you really want to buy it at. But if it was, what I would do is run your numbers, and you probably know you could add 20K to this pretty easily based on your 400. Oh, also, you're going to be able to add a lot of stuff because there's one more thing. It's not 90K. Yeah, it's actually, so there is one other area of, you know, we can kind of tighten down a little bit. And that's going to be in the renovation cost. So based on what you guys seen, knowing there's no basement, we're going to save almost everything in the house minus like maybe putting some stuff in the master, paint it, carpet it. Let's pretend it needs a well and septic, which would be about 20K if it did. Maybe it doesn't. The house is actually pretty new, so there's a decent chance it doesn't. But when I buy something well and septic, I always assume it needs it. What do you guys think in the group? I'd love to get some feedback on what you think the number would be to renovate a house like that. Now it is bigger at 2,400, but it's, you know, if you have a basement, you have 1,500 with a, you know, 900 square foot basement, that's about 2,400 living space. What do you guys think? Because basically carpeting, painting, you know, putting some new tops on, some new, you know, new stuff, maybe throwing some nice stuff in the master, but then just doing pretty much a clean up in the other bathrooms, paint, carpet, fix a couple doors, landscaping. Got 20K for the well and septic probably. You know, we'll just throw that in. Again, I'm pretty sure you might make out like a bandit on that, but you would know, you'd be prepared for worst case scenario. So take the 20K away. What do you think it would be to just renovate that one floor of that house? And anybody got an understanding or a basic guess? Besides the people who probably know this, and I feel like you'd be cheating. So I'm going to actually say, let's see. Everyone in here is pretty much not cheating. So you're all good. Anyone that wants to share, feel comfortable to share. So can anyone give us some help who's actually been paying attention and seen this on what they think it would be to, it's 2,400 square feet. It had to have a basement. You know, you're not going to be fully renovating. You're not gutting it. There's not a lot of sheetrock or anything to put in the house. Most of the trim, the doors are going to stay. You're saving quite a bit.
I'll say 55K.
Okay.
70.
All right.
Maybe 65, but 70, just to be safe.
What about anyone else? Anyone else got some feedback?
I would say 40K.
Woo!
Nice job. Gloria, she just popped in with the 40. She's like, I'm doing it for 40.
Yeah, it's one floor and we're saving everything. So
I mean, I would say that you're probably closer to right than most. I mean, the thing is, I'm probably thinking it's only about 30 to 40K to do the first floor. If Ray was here, he would agree, but then you do have to add some money for the well and septic. So if, you know, you're probably saying like 60K, I think you'd be really safe because like 40 to do the work and 20 for the septic tank and, you know, doing any of that if you need it. But the thing is, whenever we buy something with well and septic, in order to protect ourselves, we just assume it needs it if we don't have proof otherwise. Now, if they could provide you, or you could look up the permits and go to the county, you can sometimes do this online and you can find that they, you know, maybe got a permit for, you know, a new septic system 5-10 years ago, then you could actually make the assumption it's good. Most of the time, you're not going to see anything on it though. You're just going to see, okay, whenever the house was built was the last time it was ever messed with. And at that, anytime we don't have the information, then we assume it needs it. You know, that's just the way we have to do when we're buying a property that we don't know a lot about from a wholesaler, and we can make no assumptions essentially. So we put that on there. Now, with that being the case, like Ray did that recently and he ended up not needing it, and he ended up spending a couple grand on doing some repairs to it and saved like 18K. And now he's going to make a really good profit on the house. But he was able to make the deal work still. So what I would, so probably the two adjustments I would make, Gigi, and I want it to be able, so that you have a number, because I feel like you want to leave with a number. You should actually. So you're like 6K, I remember, in taxes. Just roughly, I think you have 10 and 2 in there. You get 6 months, so that's fine. You have 5% sell to realtor. And I think you could put this to 420 and 60K in work. And obviously offer more than 68K. I think maybe 250. I mean, you're still way off, but yeah, I think you could probably offer 250 on this. So your offer went up quite a bit, but still not there. So if this would have been something that looked a little closer, then you obviously could have been all over this. So if I ever send you anything and you see that it's only like 400 or 420 and they want 329, you know, you totally can pass on it. I didn't know the value of theirs. So a lot of times when I send stuff to any student, like say, hey, check this out, it looks pretty good. I generally kind of have a feel for the value. This was one time when I didn't, because I don't really do anything out in that area. Just a little far away from me, but not quite as far well, it's pretty far for you too, right, Gigi? So it's actually quite a bit from you. I just seen it was out in your direction, but apparently it's like way past you.
About 40 minutes out.
Well, you're closer than me because I've been out there and it is quite a hike for me. And it's just, you know, so it's a very nice area, very desirable, great school systems. People love living there.
Well, the other problem is, you know, just in case if we get any contractors, it's out in no man's land. It's going to be hard for the contractors to get support us also.
You don't have any problem getting contractors out there. Yeah, you basically out there, everybody's a contractor. It's like it's hillbillies. The more hillbilly it is, the more you have people that know how to do work. So contractors, you have no issues getting out there. I mean, first of all, contractors will travel. So, you know, you only got to find somebody within 30 or 40 minutes and they'll travel. Maybe you pay them a few extra bucks, but it's also a pretty easy house to get done. So if you were gutting it and doing like a full renovation to it, like 100K, I'd be like, yeah, maybe pass. But when you're doing a lot easier rehab like this is, well, it isn't going to be hard to sell the vision of this not being too hard to do, or you just need to get some manpower in it. So I wouldn't worry about the contractor piece. I really, honestly, the main deterrent at this point is just that you're at 250, they're at 320, and it's just a huge gap. And it's also an assignment deal bought off the courthouse steps. So this is a really good piece for everyone else. Whenever you buy an assignment deal off the courthouse steps, there's additional costs. Like Glory had $10,000 added to her deal, essentially, because it was bought from the courthouse steps. So I always like to think it's somewhere between 5 to 10K that's going to get added to a deal. And maybe it's as high as 10 or 15K with a deal like yours, and additional expenses, because when they sell it to you, they're going to sell it to you and you're going to have to pay the mortgage interest from the time it got foreclosed foreclosed on until it settles. So over time, they bought it on the courthouse steps until it forecloses, which often is like a 3 to 7 month period. So if it's at $2,000 a month times 5 months, it's 10 grand. So you find all that out before you buy it, obviously. But now when I'm looking at deals, I know like, okay, that makes the deal even farther off because there's an additional 10K in like crappy fees I'll have to pay. Now, again, I don't mind paying that as long as my deal allows it. And this deal clearly doesn't. So you do know now if they come back to you that actually with the 10K I just thought about, you need to be at 240. So I probably would call and say, hey, I'm around 240. Does it make any sense? Or just put an offer in at 240 on the MD, discount homes and see where they are, because it isn't uncommon for them to have a 100K spread on something. You never know. I've seen them, and they probably think they're selling this to a homeowner or something, and that's probably why they're trying to get a stupid number. They also, it's not uncommon for them to make a big mistake. I've seen them do that too, and I would say if they have this for anywhere near 320, they've definitely messed up. Well, not going to be good for them. So I think that's it for that. I mean, look, hopefully that was a helpful exercise in tightening some stuff up. The more we do that, the more you'll get clear. And this is obviously a very unique property. So it requires a little more digging and help. So definitely good stuff. Next, we're going to look at Brian's, and then we want to go to Ashley. She has a deal that she wants to take and break down and look at. And then Brian, you have something under contract. Brian, have you sent me any details of your current deal that you have under contract?
No, because I just signed a contract on it probably 20 minutes ago.
Okay, cool. So you have a contract indo, so that's solid. Let's go in, and maybe we can do is you can give me the address, and I can just look it up.
Oh, okay. You want me to paste it in, or you just want me to tell it to you?
I'll just tell it to me.
Okay, it is 2904 Colonel Lane. Colonel spelled Kernal. Yep, that's it.
Single family house, like a detached house?
Yes, a Cape Cod.
Okay. And it's listed on the MLS?
Yep.
Cool, okay. So we should be able to find that very quickly. There it is, 289, so Colonel Lane, 180, Cape Cod, 1,400 square feet. Tell me a little bit about your plans inside. Can you do a master upstairs? Do you have 2 beds on the first floor? Is the basement finishable?
I haven't gone and looked at it yet. I'm going to take a look at it tomorrow. I looked at the pictures from the inside, and I felt like it didn't need a whole lot of work. Based on pictures, I felt like the budget maybe be somewhere between 30 and 40,000.
So you have the opposite situation is Gigi, yours actually looks pretty nice, but it actually ain't. So his actually had most of what it needed, but you need HVAC, so that's like 5K. I can't really see the windows, but it looks like they're good. The roof looks like it's pretty good. The siding's very clean. I mean, this is very nice overall, right? You might have a little bit of cleanup on it, but as you get in there, like you're not going to really save this bathroom. You may be able to save it in this area, but then do the master nice. But you're also got to open the kitchen up, so you're going to have redesign in this house. So you probably are going to be about 50 on this, would be my guess. And another thing, if you use the quick reno estimator, it actually works surprisingly well. So I can't tell based on, let's see what we got on building info for it. So it doesn't say anything about the basement. So for us, we have no clue what the actual value is. So I would say go see it. If you can finish the basement, it's over 6'8", then great. And you can probably put a bed and a bath down there and at least make it like a 3-2, with 1 bed and a bath being like maybe being a 4-2 total. You might even be able to put 2 bedrooms in the basement if it's nice tall ceilings and big enough. That'll matter out there, right? These people love buying stuff with like a bunch of little bedrooms in it. You'll commonly see 5 bedrooms, 2 baths in a Cape Cod like this, where they just pound the bedrooms in. And people love it. So it has 2 upper, 1 on the, 1 upper, 2 on the main. So the 1 upper might be able to be turned into a master suite potentially. It's something you'll have to look at when you're there. Nice lot and everything. Looks really nice. My guess is, and this is how I do it. So I wanted to show you guys this tool because it's one of the tools we train on. And I actually use this. My sales reps use it when they, I had sales reps. Well, Tanya uses it. Let me see, we go to the resource center and I'll show you what we do. And it works really efficiently. And it rarely ever is like way off. And it's so simple that I often think that it wouldn't work at all. So this is in there and you have some training on it. And what we do is we start off like with property types. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong thing. It's been a while since I've used it. So you drop these down, it'll tell you like single family up to 1,500 square foot. That's what you have. So you click that. What it's going to do is put a base in. Now, what we do down here is we actually take from the base and add to the base based on things that we don't have to do and based on things we do need to do. So let's focus on the things we need to do first. So we know we need to add a bathroom, right? For sure, because we can't sell it one bath. So we at least add that one bathroom. We can make the assumption we have to finish the basement because right now, it clearly says it doesn't even have a basement, but I can't even tell. It actually doesn't say anything about a basement at all, which means it might not have a basement at all, but you'll figure that out when you see it. What else did you see in there? Like, let's see if there's anything else in this list that might need to be done. Honestly, I don't know if there's anything else in this list. We're probably all good from this point on, but these are the things that added us up to 62. Now we got to come over here and figure out, like, what are we saving? What don't we need to do? We're not saving the kitchen. We probably can save the windows. We're not saving HVAC. We're not saving tile. We might save the doors and trim. Might save some sheetrock potentially. Some of it, but I don't know if we want to mess with that or not. I could save sheetrock. So you can see how accurate this is. I mean, I know it's 50K because I can just look and be almost like I have a calculator in my head that from years of doing this. But if you were to tell me, Mike, 52.5, I would say you're very close because you're going to probably, if you're not finishing the basement, then here's how it would change things. But it's also going to change the comps. We would get rid of this if it's not changing the basement. So let me just figure out. So all we would do is pick additional cost here. So it goes down to 45 if you're not finishing the basement. If you're not finishing the basement, you probably have to add a bath somewhere. And we got to figure out where you can do that because we don't really want to sell 3-1s too much because the comps end up being really low on 3-1s in general. So yes, it's probably about 45 if you don't have to finish the basement. But I would say that you hope you have to finish the basement because where it might cost you $7,500 to finish the basement, it's going to add 20 or 30K in value. So it's, the basement thing we love because it's going to definitely take you into a new realm. So that tool, I would actually watch the training on that for everyone in the group, Gigi, everyone. I actually want to take Gigi's really quickly and do his house. And I just want to show you, we came up with about, 60K. Let's see how this works. So we would switch this. So this is the, base cost. Let me go ahead and figure out how to get that down. Okay, drop it down. So now we're going to go to single family, 18 to 2,300. That's us, very close, right? Puts a little different. Basement was, remember that was pretty good. We weren't really adding any baths in that house, so we're going to get rid of that. So we don't need a bath. I mean, there was really nothing major we were adding to that house with the well and septic. Let's see if that's in there. I don't have it in there because we don't do a lot of it, but we'll know we'll just throw 20K on to wherever this lands, okay? So let's come in here. We could definitely save the windows. We could definitely save the doors and trim, definitely save the sheetrock. We were actually saving the kitchen, right? We were not, I think we had, I didn't really get pictures, but it looked like it actually had. We never got in the basement, so we don't really know a lot about the other thing. So we were saving some of the tile, and we're definitely saving the hardwood. So you can see this is getting, let's see, what else can we save in here? Oh, we're saving baths, and there's no layout change. So let's see if there's anything else. Saving trim door, sheetrock, bath, windows. Okay, I think that's it. Now look where we're at. So I said 40K, and this says 44K. This is very standard to how this works, by the way. I mean, I just put in 4K of what I said. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is right, but it really don't matter who's right here. It just matters that this tool will get you in the ballpark of where you need to be. So I love this tool until you get really sharp at the estimating, because I use this tool when I'm looking at stuff on the MLS because I don't really have time to sit there and line item everything out, take 20, 30 minutes when I'm looking at deals. Do you see how fast I was able to do that? If you watch the training and use this tool 20 times as you're looking at properties, you will 100% be able to get this within 5K. And you start getting things within 5K, then you don't have to worry about being off 30 or 40K. Because if you're off 30 or 40K, you're generally going to either overpay for a house or underpay for it. You're going to miss out, or hopefully you won't miss out if you're overpaying. But most people tend to underpay, not overpay. If you were overpaying, you'd probably be, saying, Mike, let's finish the construction up on my house because I got plenty of them. I just got 6 last week. Whenever someone comes and says, Mike, I got 3 houses under contract last week, I'm like, uh-oh. I think they're maybe on the overpaying side. Or if they say, I've been looking for a deal for a year and I can't get one, then you're probably on the underpaying side, which is a good place to be. I would prefer you be in the underpaying side because we can adjust you up. The overpaying means you might be in a pretty tough spot that's hard to get out of. So I like being conservative if you had to be one way, but really you are what you are. We don't really dictate that, just for the record. So this desktop reno estimator, like I think Ashley, everyone's on the call, you guys could really practice this and use this. And you can see it came up with almost the exact numbers I gave you. It was really accurate on one, and 4,000 to me is super close. I mean, it's enough for you to mentally start putting the numbers together, okay? So I just want you to think about it that way. So we go, that showed about 65,000 on Gigi's house, which would still give him 25K more to play with. So it's pretty good, get you in a better ballpark for sure. I mean, I would totally buy that house based on that number, especially since I thought it was 40, being like 4 more K, I would be fine with that. So let's take a quick look and come back now. So that was Brian's, and I want to take a look at your comps now, Brian, because we see your house. We have 2 question marks. Is obviously what's up with the basement, because that's obviously, it says, it doesn't tell us. I hate this new thing. It used to say basement no. Now it says nothing. And when it says nothing, it often means there's no basement. Maybe we can look at the tax record. Let me try that. Maybe we can go back during this thing. See, is this the tax record here? I never look at the tax record. Kind of want to know if I think it has a basement, because if we're comping no basement, that might be an important piece to know. Okay, so
there's somewhere that basement no, like right on the first page of it, on the right hand
on
side.
MLS.
Yes, if you
Okay.
cut down a little bit, it says basement no right there.
No, there you go. So see, you have to get the detective to tell me it's no basement.
Yep, I didn't see that in there.
I know, it's like I missed it. I need my glasses, my old guy
I look
glasses.
at it all the time, so
Yep,
I
and
know.
all the comps got basements. So yeah.
So we're gonna, obviously that might make a difference of you not following through now, but let's look at the numbers.
Yeah, might.
You're like, you're definitely winning. All right, let's look. So we have these comps, but here's what we're gonna do. We got 43. We're good. We got 1,000 days back, and now we're going to go no basement. I'm sure it's going to cut the comps down considerably. Good news, now down to 7, so that sucks. It doesn't help us. Now we see kind of top number of this, but still some pretty decent numbers. Let's start at the top and see where we are. And one of them happens to be on your street. Let's just see how it compares. So 321, 2,200. Okay, way better. We're going to pass on that one. 5.3, 1,700, way better. 4.2, 1,200. So what they did here, just so you know, Brian, is look at that. Look, you can tell me probably, you're a construction guy. This lot looks like your house, right? Like that. What they did is they dormered the whole back house. So Gloria, this is kind of what your house is going to look like. Now, that's a funny looking house, by the way. This house is ugly. But they took this, which would have been a Cape Cod like that. And you can see my hand scrolling, right? And you guys see my little finger scrolling.
Yeah.
Okay, so they basically put a dormer across the whole back. You probably have the option of doing that, which would then give you the potential of making this a 3.2 with a master suite, making it much nicer, no basement. Let's look at this, because I would not be, this has no basement. It's 4.2, 1,200 square feet. They got 200K though. Oh, got it. So really that's kind of your high sold. Here's another one on Colonel, 1,400, 5.2. Again, only 200K. So no basement. Like, yeah, honestly, it's like 200K. So what is it that you offered on it, just out of curiosity? What was the number?
I offered list because I thought it had a basement.
Yeah, that would make a big difference. And I'm surprised they didn't just like jump on that and be like, yep, it's all yours. All right, but just tell them that your partner looked at it with you and, you guys decided not to go forward with it. Well, for sure, obviously, but little detail. I mean, I kind of missed it initially. So, I mean,
well, I was going to go see it tomorrow anyway.
That's always the thing that saves you, obviously, is when you go see it. Then it's kind of difficult for people to really, it's difficult to miss the big stuff when you go to see it. So anyhow, cool stuff. I'm thinking that this is, hey, we figured it out. Good job on like being aggressive and doing all the right stuff. And now looking at the details, you got a feel for, okay, that's probably, I'm going to go ahead and pass on it. I would tell you that's not uncommon even with me. The thing is, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. I'm aggressively looking at stuff. I'm just before I take any real action, like, so don't self-adjust and feel like, oh crap, I'm going to be, I'm going to take way more time now in the future because I messed that up. Don't feel that way. Look at the positivity of like, you were on this, and if this would have been a deal, you would have been in the right place on this deal. When it's not, like your control, we call anything that's like a stop thing, like a stopgap that stops you from making a poor choice. Well, that's coming and looking at it, saying, Mike, I got like a verbal acceptance on this, and can you check it out with me? And if like we didn't have a call today, then text me, because I don't want you to be in a position. I tell Glory essentially, like when she would get an offer accepted, like just don't give them the money until you've actually got me to look at it with you, just in case you miss something, because we're human, we can. Like it took me, you, and Glory to figure all that out. She was helping out. She was like, hey, there's the basement. I kind of assumed there was no basement because it had nothing on it, but I don't know why I don't know where the basement thing is. This is all this MLS is. Well, I keep saying it's new, but it's new like 6 months ago. So it's not that new, but it's not the MLS I've been using for 10 years. So I guess I'm a little bit off on it. So, just pass on at this point and go back to the drawing board and keep working, looking for the numbers. As you do this more and more, it's going to get easier and easier, and you're going to start recognizing the numbers better. But I hope that just from me going through it with you, you got a good feel of using that desktop reno estimator, which I think helps a little bit, and it bringing your number up a little, getting you more in the ballpark. Same thing for Gigi, anyone else. Like, it's a really good tool. In my business, when I was buying 150 houses a year, I had 3 sales reps, and they would all 3 use that, and I let them use that to make decisions. So meaning they could put something under contract with a clause, or they could get a verbal acceptance or even sign a contract on the MLS, but don't deliver the deposit. And they would do all that based off of that number. And sometimes I'd look at it and say that number got wrong, but for the most part, it's designed, when you're looking at a house like Brian's, it's actually designed perfectly. Seemed to work pretty good on Gigi's too, but Gigi's house would be, I would say it's kryptonite a little bit. If you start looking at like 3,000 square foot homes, the desktop reno estimator is really optimized around homes that are around like 1,000, 1,700 square feet, like normal Cape Cods, the things that we normally flip. It's very optimized around that, because we optimized it around like 300 or 400 flips. And, when you look at 300 or 400 of our flips, they're going to basically be a lot of the same stuff. So it works really, really well if you're looking at something, it's a standard flip. And if you look at it and use it on something else, and, it works pretty well there too. Obviously, it did work very well on Gigi's, but if it ever was going to be wrong, it might be wrong if you're doing a DC property or you're doing something that's a little bit out of the wheelhouse of it. And at that point, you would obviously be playing a big game, and, you'd want to do as much due diligence as possible. So, because you're spending so much money on it. So next house, we're going to check Ashley's out. Let's make sure Ashley's here. So if she has any questions. I think I seen her on here earlier. Okay, cool. Ashley's here. So
I'm here.
Welcome. And she has one property she'd like to look at. And it's a great job, both of you guys. I'm glad you're looking at them. And, sometimes they don't work out, but at least you're on them. And let's see. This one is El Dorado, 21207. I'm going to click that in. No, I didn't even. All right, okay, cool. El Dorado Avenue, 2127. I'm assuming it's a single family, like a detached home.
Yes.
Okay. 2 matches. Oh, because no basement. Let's get that off. Get rid of that. Now we got 149. Now we're talking. So is yours on the MLS, Ashley?
I'm not sure. I don't have access.
Where'd you find it from?
Redfin.
Redfin? Okay, so it should be on the MLS then. Well, you know what it's listed for by any chance?
You know what? This one actually, I think this one is don't try detached, because I think this is one of the ones that it's like a 2 townhouse kind of thing.
Okay, so it's a semi-detached. Okay, got it. All right, let's change that up then. That'll cut it down some for us. So whenever we look at semi-detached, we actually look at row home, end of group, all those, because they're going to be very similar. Yes, semi-detached is a little more valuable than our interior row home, but they're going to be close to each other, right? They're in end of group is basically the same as a semi-detached. Really not a big difference. But we obviously, one of the barriers we never want to cross is looking at detached versus semi-detached, because that's a pretty big difference. So we never want to look at that. Somebody's trying to get a bunch of money for that. 7 bedrooms, that's why. So first actual sold is on Granada, 180. You got El Dorado, 180. You got El Dorado, 175. Cold Spring, 175. 170. I mean, I just look at that and I can basically tell you what the comps likely are. Probably 170 to 180. I mean, now I obviously want to look at this and hone it in some, but well, let's see if it's actually active. 3710 Eldorado.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like it's active at a good price too. It's actually a really good price. So I do think that you picked a very good house to look at. Now you got this behind you. Is that Morgan or something, or?
No, it's a elementary school, I think.
Okay, so that's not a big deal. So when we look at it, doesn't look bad overall, but some of the stuff we really pay attention to is like the radiators. So we know that like we need the radiators, and you know, actually we can use this. How much did you think it was just for the renovation? That's obviously, I want to tell me what you think the ARV was, the purchase, and then like the renovation cost.
So ARV, I was thinking 160.
Okay.
Rental cost, I thought 60.
Okay, good. So let's see, you know, if there's any room for adjustment there. So if we use this tool that you have, which is, I should just be bringing this out every time. I kind of forget to tell you guys about
So
it.
that is what I use to assist me.
Let me see if it comes up any differently for me, because sometimes
It probably will.
well, it might, right? You never know.
Yeah.
But here's how we look at it. You got a row home up to 14, so standard row home up to 14. And let me take it now. Somebody needs to be muted. I got to put somebody on the mute. I think it's Petey. Go to Taco Bell. Okay. And let me just do one thing real quick, guys. Let me go ahead and get out of this and get back in it, because seriously, I'd have to take and actually mess with all that. It's like I click so many things on Gigi's, I'll never get it back right again. So let me just get a fresh one, because obviously they're hitting every one of those little buttons. They're kind of tedious. So desktop reno, and we'll just take a quick look. So let's see how I would look at it. And I know that the base cost is going to go down considerably when it's a row home. So probably 40K. So go row home up to 1400. That's you. So it starts at a 40K base. Now we have the house up. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and look at it a little more detailed in our online stuff and get a feel for the things we know we need to do. So outside of the house looks great. The windows look great. Porch fine. You know, nothing major going on. Interior of the house, it looks like the walls and the trim and railings all looks really good. Like you would just do some paint and carpet. You probably would have to maybe open a wall up between the kitchens, kind of tough to tell. But if you did, it wouldn't be a big expense, but it could actually just be opening one wall. I think we only have one bathroom. This bathroom, probably not up to par, you know, probably needs to be renovated. It's like, kind of like almost looks good enough, but likely when you get there in person, it's probably not going to be that nice. But it looks like we could save the doors and trim and the sheetrock. So that's pretty good. We do know we need this replaced. So this is going to be, we need ducts and we need HVAC. So when we click that number, it's going to run our number up a little bit. Now, basement wise, I mean, we've often saved the paneling in a basement like this. I think Darshan might even did it in his house. And we saved that, maybe get rid of the drop ceiling and then spray the ceiling black and put some carpet down there, you know, because not a super high end. So we don't have to go too crazy. So if we come back to the deal analyzer now, no, we can save a few things, but we got some stuff we need to do. So let's hit the numbers and see where we are. So additional costs, we always start with those. We know that right now it's only one bath, correct?
I think so.
Okay, we got the listing.
Yeah, I had it listed as a 311, so I think it's 1.5.
So, okay, cool. I actually have something in for that, so I'm glad that came up. Right now we've got, let's see if we can add a bath. So if we have a half bath and we're turning it into a bath, feel free to add. It puts 5K on there, but what you could easily do is just cut it in half. It's a half bath, but let's just leave the 5K. Normally, if you have a half bath and you turn it into a full, it costs about 2,500 to 3K to do that. But we'll leave 5K and we'll know that we're a little bit over right now because because I don't have a half bath thing. I don't think, at least. We'll see. I might actually have it. Yeah, I don't really think I have it. We don't really need to finish the basement because we're going to keep a lot of it. Honestly, I don't really see anything here other than HVAC, which, by the way, someone mentioned to me that I need to add, and I do not see it in here.
I think you said in your training that it was already included in the base price.
Oh, the HVAC would be already included in the base price. Yeah, it likely would be, actually, for a house like this. So you're probably totally cool to be able to leave that in as the base price. So I don't see anything else we need to add, honestly. It looks pretty solid from everything I see. So we just got the bathroom we need to add. And honestly, that makes it about $42,500. So let's come in here and see what we can save. The only real thing I seen we could save is probably the windows and maybe the doors and trim. That's it. Might be able to save sheetrock, but you got some stuff to do in the basement, so I'm not going to really add that. And I don't know if I actually did that actually work? I don't think
I
it
think
did.
when I started with it, I didn't select row home. I think I left it as a detached.
I bet you did, and that
So-
would actually make it more. So you can see, even if it's like 40 to 45, I'm totally like in my head when we see row home, I'm always thinking like 40 to 50 in general. 50 being like if it's pretty rough. Usually 60, it's a destroyed, it's bad. Like when you start getting 60 in it, you need everything. It's like pretty much the whole house. The one cool thing about row homes in Baltimore is I basically can just tell you how much they cost to renovate. On the low end 30 to high end 60, often they're somewhere around 40 to 50. Like a house that kind of looks like this needs a couple things, 40, 50,000. You could, you just said 50, you'd be solid. But then if you look and you could save a couple things and it kind of goes down from 50. It really goes down from 40. There's a couple things you need. It's kind of offsetting. So 40K is your number. I might say 45 on it. So obviously I think I can help you shave 15K off of your renovation cost. And I would probably just go 45 to be safe, add a little love to it just in case. I don't want you to go too far with that, but at the end of the day, so, okay, we see what kind of house we have now. Now it's 1,456 square feet. It's a pretty nice house. Pretty good size and everything. It's going to feel like a really nice little home. This one says remain on market 10 days before the seller review employees. So I guess this is potentially, I don't know if it's the HUD, let's see. Can't work for Chase Bank. Technology fee. Okay, so this is like an online bidding system that you'd have to do this on, but all very possible. If you need some help, you could reach out to my mom or someone, we can help you, but they want 42K and the number actually seems in my head, seems like it works. Let's go ahead and look at the comps real tight now. Let's actually look at them. Now that we know what we have, right, and what we're comparing to. Let's see if the 180s, how different it is from us, like is it got. So we obviously know we're not, I don't know, that's like a store. So we're gonna leave that one alone. This one is, I don't know what that's active, not even really. This looks really different, honestly. This looks like a newer home or something. It's 4.2/1100, but it's built in 93. So, okay, that's like a newer home. So I'm just looking at this picture. I'm not going to mess with that one. This is on our street, 421. It's built in 1941. I like to take a look at this because this actually looks like our house. Seems like it would look like our house. Yeah, and I imagine you could make that house as nice as this, by the way, because I think this is not even quite as big as yours. Now, they put some serious money into this with all the ceilings and everything. So if you were going to do a rehab like this, it'd be about 50K. Some extra love on a couple things. But other than that, they didn't go too crazy. I mean, it looks nice. They actually went really kind of crazy. For this area, they definitely pimped this thing out, made it really nice. It looks like they even put a front porch on it, but it looks just like your house, by the way. Yeah, very similar. And I know this street happens to be like the next street over. Let's see. You were on.
No, same street as El Dorado.
Oh, this is El Dorado. Got it. Thanks. Thanks for mentioning that. And I was thinking this one was the one that was on Granada. Granada was the new home. Okay. So if we use this as a comp, and this is definitely a really good comp. They made it 4.2, assuming they got one in the basement. Half bath on the first floor. They really went all above, and it's got the same square footage as you, same street. You probably put 50, 55 into this. They sold it super quick. Very 2-year-old comp, so the market went up. They netted 175 roughly. Let's call it 175. And 3 days on the market. I mean, that's a conclusive comp, but I would say you need 50 probably to get that comp. There was another comp too. Let's look at that and make sure it's not too insane. That's a pretty insane rehab. That guy always way overdoes them. And he does a lot of hood properties and then just like really makes them great, which I think he did there. He made that house amazing. I was like, beautiful. Like he's putting on a rehab show, Hold on. He's like, I'm trying to win Rehabber of the Year, Baltimore City Rehabber of the Year. So now, same dude, by the way, probably who's going to be bidding against you. Now, this is nowhere near as high of an end rehab. It's got more of a galley kitchen. Looks a little different than yours. I think kind of looks nice. But at the same time, the interior of the home is like, have a cabinet over this. This is like base cabinets that you get for like a rental. The layout's not quite as open. Overall, this feels a little tighter, not quite as nice. I'm assuming it's not as big and awesome as yours. quality of the tile he's using in the bathrooms, it's like 89 cents. That's cheap. You know, he's not going too crazy. Nice everything though. It is a very nice house. Cooler looking from the outside, but I would say it's not quite as nice. It's a 321, and square footage, let's see what that is, 1,600. So it is actually bigger than yours, but not the greatest rehab on the inside, to be honest. And they sold that for 168. And Karen Regan, okay, this was an 18 also, so it's almost 2 years ago. And it wasn't that great of a rehab, to be honest. So I probably would feel very comfortable. I probably would go for around like 170. You're at 160. So we can add 10K to that. And then we come in and we run the numbers. Let's see, that's not what I want to run. Let me get rid of that thing. I don't need that. And then let's find our actual analyzer, where the heck that went. And it's somewhere floating around here. Can I get rid of it? I probably did. Get this a little more about down to size. So I go 170, I'm probably saying 45, because we're going to go between the really high one. We're not using the 175 comp, and that is a 2-year-old comp, by the way. Right now they want 42K for it, so I'm pretty sure that actually totally works. Let's see. So obviously that looks good. It looks good. Your 12 and 2 looks good. So I mean, this shows 56K. So obviously, if you could get it for 42, you know, you would do that in a second. The thing we have to make an assumption is no one's going to let you buy it for 42, because you can see other people are rehabbing there. So, you know, other people are looking at these houses and they're definitely on it. They're trying to buy it. And, you know, the comps are fairly conclusive. Right? These are very exact homes. And even honestly, people want to buy these and just clean them up as rentals. So you've got two people. You're not just competing against rehabbers. You're actually competing against like some landlords too. So you would want to kind of come to your best price, and which may be about, let's see what 65 does. And yeah, that's probably where you're going to be at, like a 30K profit, you know. And I always like to try to bump it up just a hair. And how I would do that is go 66,100. And okay, not 666,000. Do not pay that. Be like, Mike told me to buy it for 600,000. Okay, well, actually, something. Okay, hold on, that's 61. I gotta get this right. 66,100 is what we're trying to do. Perfect. So I put you at 29,400, but I mean, the numbers are strong on this. You're not going to, usually the number, we make 30K on bigger homes in the county, but like 25K is acceptable in a neighborhood like this because, you know, this is a small house. It's not going to be over the top rehab. You know, it's, you know, 45, 50K, you're all good. And you might be able to get more because those comps were 2 years old. So being that old, you know, the markets went up considerably since then. So personally, I mean, if you could pick it up for 66.1, I'd be all over it. Whether you can get it for that, I don't know. So what I would do is I would try to call a listing agent, see if they're willing to, you know, put an offer in for you. If they're not, then text me and I can put one in for you. And I don't think I would be doing you any disservice by doing that because it's like an automated offer process. So, you know, honestly, I don't know if like you talking to the agent's going to give you any upside, but because I don't like to ever seem like I'm trying to be greedy and make a little teeny commission, I'm not. I totally want you to win the deal more than anything else. Go to the agent first, and only if you can't convince them or someone on their team to do it for you, then check in with me, okay? Because it looks like it's at a place now where they honestly are probably looking at offers. They said after 10 days, so it might even be in a situation where they already have multiple offers. And when you call the agent, they might give you all that information, and then you just find out if there's still time to put an offer in or not. You can always
can you just show me that information because I didn't have access to that.
Okay, let me see real quick. So information, information to get a hold of the agent? Awesome.
Yeah.
Also, you have the numbers for a deal analyzer, right? 66,100?
Mm-hmm. Yep, got that.
Okay, you got it? Okay, I'll make sure. No mistakes there. And let me go back to the listing and I'll find that for you.
That was it. Yeah.
I know, just I didn't do that, or maybe I did. Who knows? I get back to it.
3710. No, the one below that.
The max jump around on you a little bit. Okay. Now I got something in front of me. 1 second. I got the, okay, so 3710 right there. What I'm going to do, because they're going to ask you, have you seen it? I'm going to go ahead and schedule a showing and just say your business partner went and seen it with you, okay? That way, then, you know, just say, oh, yeah, I went and seen it with my business partner. He has a license, but just so we can see properties, okay? This way, they're not going to be like, well, you didn't see it, and if you haven't seen it, we don't want to put an offer, and they'll take you more serious, okay? That's kind of one thing we always want to do, schedule some kind of showing if you can. Let's see, showing 9 a.m., let's see, yes. Okay, by the way, you kind of want to go see it, so let's give you that information to start with, and
Got it.
give you a screenshot of that. And it's Barbara Purdue, so she's actually pretty cool. You can get a hold of her. She's pretty awesome. And here's all her information. I'm going to go ahead and give you, oh God, not Robert Kretzel again. Jeez, I didn't know she was with him. I hate that dude. He never wants to hook us up with anything. The only reason. The only reason I hate people is because they don't want to give me deals. Like Mike hates no one unless you try to stop them from getting deals, and all of a sudden you're on my crappy list. Like, just don't stop me from getting deals. So I'm going to actually send you this and this. Let's see, share. Let me just scroll this down so I can actually see. Change. Okay, cool. And if you get in, just say, make sure you tell her that I went there to see it with you, you know, like, and I have a license and I just have it as an investor though, because that way they won't feel like, well, why don't you make an offer with him? Just say he doesn't make offers. Like, you know, I'm just working with him, and she knows me, by the way. So if you mention my name, it might help. I've had a lot of deals with her, but no. You know, but I would say, so try to see if they'll make the offer, someone on the team. If not, then get back to me. I don't know if I told you guys the story of an agent when I called. They were just like, well, let me see. When I said, hey, you think I would be wasting your time if I made an offer at X? And she's like, well, I got all the offers in front of me. Let me look. And she started telling me what they were. It was actually her, by the way. So
wow.
He likes you, trusts you, or, you know, feels comfortable with you on the phone, then, you know, you got a good chance she might tell you something. If you can get her on the phone, she is a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. So like a lot of these big REO agents aren't easy to get, but if not, then you're going to look at like, who is the backup agent, whoever, and just go for it and just see what happens. You know, it's for like the one thing I want to give you really a lot of respect on and say that you did a great job of is you looked at 3 properties and you absolutely picked the best one. Because anytime you can offer more than list, you're in a really good spot. So, you know, again, never waste your time when you're offering like $20,000 over list. Never waste your time. Whether you get it or not, you never know. Don't get your expectations of like, I'll win every one. But I can tell you that if you're making offers on deals like that, you're not far from getting something. Because, you know, the number's low. It came in low. And obviously, not everyone's going to know that they need to go the full way on it. With that being said, you know, maybe they do. I mean, but you got a chance. So let me know how it's going. Obviously, feel free to text me and say, hey, you know, I need some help with it. If no one will help you as far as like an agent, and we'll go from there. Thank you for submitting that too. All 3 of you. I appreciate you guys bringing those deals in. I think there's hopefully some good lessons because almost everyone on the call is actually looking for deals right now. Let's see. We got Brian, David. I know he's looking for deals. Gigi, Linda, Gloria. Gloria not looking for deals. But Marlo is. Well, Nancy will be. Nikki will be in the future. So hopefully y'all got some value from that. The people that are doing rehabs, is there any help I can give you on the rehabs as far as like anything that you feel like, you know, if we could break through some barriers, you can get your rehabs moving faster or anything like that?
Hey, Mike.
Hey.
Hey, so I just got back to the property not so long ago, and our demo guy didn't haul a thing. So we're kind of back at square one. We got $300 left in our budget. I mean, not the full budget, just like the first half of it.
Yeah.
And
the demo budget, right?
Yeah, the first half of the demo budget. And so I'm meeting with a guy right now that we found off of Facebook. He just posted his ad. He got standardized pricing for hauling. So he'll tell me he's going to give me a call when he gets there.
Okay.
But right now, I mean, it's looking like we're probably going to go over. Right now, we're $700 in. We're probably going to go over, probably get to like $1,200 potentially. I don't know.
What do you got left? I mean, well, whenever you go there next, maybe show me or do it on Facebook if you can show me where you are and I can give you a feel. But have you really haven't done anything since the last guy? So is it just where it was before?
No. It's pretty much cleaned up. We had a second guy come in and clean up most all of that stuff. But
okay.
he was horrible. Like he kept bitching and moaning and all.
Yeah, I mean, if you spend $300 to $500 to get done from here, it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, look,
right.
You can see how I'm so glad that you're being like super diligent about like not just blowing the budget, and like going 200 over is not the end of the world. But
right.
I respect your grind that you're like, I'm not just, giving in and just paying people. That's the really big win here, is that you're not giving in and paying these people and you're standing your ground until you get what you want. Because literally if you did this 20 times to get the one guy and then he's your guy forever, bam, one piece of the puzzle down for a really long time. Right. And I know it seems tough, but it gets a lot easier because like I said, you'll get in tune with like, now that you've seen bad, what really happens is once you see bad, you start to understand what it looks like and you start to identify it quickly because you start saying, that guy's kind of like the other dude who's wearing wiggy acting, right? So you start to get a feel for some of the behavior patterns and some of the ways they speak and the ways they act. So unfortunately, I wish there was a secret sauce where I could be like, you'll never hire any bad contractors ever. Well, the thing is, I'm really promising you in this training, and what I'll help you with is that you're not going to get like raked over the coals. That's the secret. You're not getting like all your money taken. Because see, like couple guys giving you a headache and not showing up, that's like not even a big deal in the grand scheme of things. What can be a big deal is hiring a GC and going 10, 20K over budget. And now all of a sudden you decide you want to list it for more than you originally thought, and it sits on the market. And then you're basically on Facebook talking about how bad house flipping is and how much I suck. And I'm like, crap, I don't want that. I obviously don't want you saying I suck. But really how bad house flipping is, because it's really one of the most amazing businesses you can be in if you just take the time and do what you're doing. You're doing absolutely everything right. So give Billy a high five and like, dude, we're crushing it. We're getting it done. And $200 is not going to break us. And now what you do is you start saying, is there a way I can save $200 on some of the stuff in the future? Maybe this guy is pretty affordable with his loads and he can get some of those loads done for you a little cheaper throughout the job. Maybe you get the $200 back, but at the end of the day, you're $200-300 over because of this. Not a big deal. We do have contingency, by the way. So that's in there.
Right.
So what you would do is take that out of there is what you would do at this point, wherever you end up.
Okay, appreciate it. And one other question. So we're also kind of like getting into our point where we're about to get our we need the permits to get framing and get in the load bearing wall and stuff like that. So how should we go about it? Should we find an architect first, or who do we need to sign off on what? Do we need an engineer or architect, or like kind of combination of both, or what?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who to refer you to, because the one person that Steve used has been really difficult to deal with and more expensive. So I don't know if Glory found anyone, and who's not on here is Mike. I think he looked for someone. You might want to try to put a funnel out for it and just see if anyone will come in. Like, just say you're looking for what you call that person who you really look for is a permit runner. So if you can find a permit runner, they always know a cheap architect. So basically someone who doesn't really have a license, but effectively knows how to do the drawings. That's your person. Because if you get like a high-end architect that builds like mansions and stuff, they're going to be like, I want 20 grand to do it. But if you're getting someone who just works for house flippers and they could throw these drawings together in a couple hours, they charge you anywhere from like $300 to $600 to do it. The runner's going to charge you a couple $100. So your total cost is around, like, for the drawings and the permits and everything, $1,000 to $1,200 total for a house like yours. Now, the additional cost you might incur is that you have that load bearing wall that you're going to be putting a beam on. So you're going to need to get like a structural guy to sign off on it. Now, I can refer you my structural guy if your person doesn't know someone. Technically, I do have a guy that my architect sends me to, and he charges $300 to look at it, revise it, and then just stamp it. You like bring it to him, he'll be like, looks good, or change this. Here's my stamp.
Okay, perfect. So the structural guy is an engineer, so he's not the architect, pretty much.
He is, but the fake architect, I like to call them fake architects because they generally aren't licensed architects, right? They're just people who know how to do the drawings. They're kind of finding a niche. They didn't actually go all the way to being an architect. Kind of like the guy who can put the brakes on your car for real cheap, but he's not really a mechanic, but he totally can do it. because he just knows his stuff, and you know he's probably really good at it. Well, that's what they do. Essentially, they found a niche they're really good at it. But they generally know someone because, like, again, you go to an engineer, and a lot of engineers want to make a big deal out of everything. But this particular engineer looks at the drawings. The architect they're working with, they know they have a working relationship of that. They know what the engineer is going to want, and the engineer reviews it just to say, okay, you did what I expect you to do. That looks good, and then he'll put his stamp on it. If he wants something changed, he'll say, hey, you need to change this around, do this, and then bring it back to me, and then I'll stamp it. And they just charge like $300 for that because, you know, literally it's about 10 minutes of his time. It's about nothing more than that. And he won't come to the house. You guys have to like email it or take it to him. I don't even remember. You might have to, I think you have to email it to him, and then he revises it, stamps it, and you got to go to his house and pick it up. Like super old. Like, you know, he's like 99 years old. I mean, Steve said he met him. He was really cool, but he was super old. He's like, that guy's old, man. And it's really what you hear us talk about all the time is like older people who will sign on these things and help out. So that would be your best bet. So I would say put that out now, right? And you totally could do some of the work without getting permits. And then as you're getting them, right? If you want to as you're getting the permit stuff, if you want to start after demo, start getting really detailed about the framing and everything, you know, but wait until you at least get drawings and stuff and know what you're doing with all that, with the drawings and everything. You know, you might be able to start really detailing out the framing while you're also doing the drawings and everything.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, in the drawings that we already have, I mean, what else do I need to add to it, I guess? I mean, is there something special that I need to do for it?
Yes, there is. Obviously, they're going to take and draw it out like where it looks professional. We're not going to go crazy, but it ain't going to be a piece of graph paper. So the thing we use is the drawings. That's perfectly fine to get to a contractor, but it's not going to. It's not. I mean, it wouldn't be what you need for the permit department. You're going to need a little slightly higher standard, not like, you know, crazy different, but it'll be done on a computer with like, you know, not with a pencil essentially. But I'm not saying you probably could get those approved, but since you need to get an engineer is probably not going to put a stamp on a piece of graph paper and a pencil.
Gotcha.
Without going to prison, he's probably like, I am not stamping a piece of paper that you guys just did some pencil marks on. So likely he probably wouldn't be willing to do that. Because it just would not really look good for him, you know, like he's doing some shady backdoor stuff. You got like licensed engineer got his stamp on a piece of.
Is this the only framing we really need if I talk to these guys tonight?
Yes. Let me see if I can put you on hold for a second.
You want the framing, or do you want James to do the LVL?
No, 1 second. Okay, I'll just put that on hold. They might now actually have a question for me. So yes, look for that person. If you can't find anyone, feel free to reach out to me, and then I'll reach out and see if I can help. But I would love for you to find someone through the funnel, simply because you're going to get more time using the funnel. The funnel seems like a headache, but the funnel actually, every opportunity you get to use it, the better you get at using it. So it's like, if you know, where instead of saying like, oh, well, Nikki can give me someone, or Brian can give me someone, or Ashley, right? You don't want to get referrals. You want to use your funnel and get used to the process, because the real money's in your ability to use the funnel and get used to working with these people and sifting out like when they're for real, when they're not. So it's all practice. So the more you do it, the better you are. And then also you don't have to worry about like, you know, maybe you get a referral. I have to tell you, not everyone's going to refer you perfect people. I can refer you everyone I use to do all the flips I'm doing. And the words I've heard when I've referred them in the past is like, why would you refer me? Those people, they're awful. And I'm like, they literally crush it for me every day. So in my environment, they're amazing. But they, you know, I have a very structured environment that helps them, you know, helps them stay very focused. So let's see, somebody make some noise. Who's been on noise? Okay, there, we'll cut them off. Now, whoever it was. So anyhow, Pete, that's the thing. And if you can't get it, then, you know, reach out. There's a few people in the group that might be able to help you, including me. So obviously try it first and try to get the experience. All right.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Let's see. Hey, Nancy, can you hear me?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, can I help you with something?
Of course. Yeah, Jim's here too.
Awesome. What's up, Jim?
We went through the funnel and hired a demo guy, and he sucked. So we hired another guy that was a candidate, and he's been very good. He finished the job. He did all that job that we discussed that we thought would be between $600 and $700, $600. And in fact, we discovered that in one case where we thought it was just cheap paneling in the basement, it turned out that there was sheetrock behind the paneling.
Oh, that's good. Well, I mean, kind of good. If you're pulling permits and everything, you might still need to rip it out.
Well, we did, and he did that for the same price.
Yeah, that's good of him. So that means he's a pretty good guy. What did he charge you to? So the first guy did nothing, or did he do a little bit?
They did
The utility room.
They did the utility room.
Yeah, that's
in
impressive.
a very small part of the other side,
Okay.
and it took 3 guys over 4 hours to do that.
Oh God, they should add most of the house done. 3 guys in half a day.
So when I told the guy he was way too slow, he was going to have to speed it up, he got pissed off and quit.
Perfect.
Saved me a problem. Well, fine.
You didn't have to pay him. You didn't have to pay him anything, or?
No, he said, "I'm sending you an invoice." I said, "Knock yourself out."
An invoice for what?
That's what I was saying. It's like, wait.
I mean, he didn't do anything. So, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't give him like $100 walking money or something, just, again, but not to be a jerk about it. But at the same time, and the right move, like I would say, if you want to go with what's right, 0 is probably right. But I always like to take the high ground, give them $100 or something, just so, but am I going to pay them 3 guys for 4 hours and they didn't really do anything? Nah. I mean, he's going to want 500 or something. That's just how they are.
Yeah. He's a carpenter with 30 years experience and has built a number of houses, and he's telling me all this stuff, but he just doesn't, he knows what demo is, but he doesn't know what it means as an art and a craft. He just hasn't done it.
There's no art. There's no art and craft to it. He's just basically brain dead. I mean, if you can't, like, look, I could probably take anyone on this call and show you how to do demo, and you'd probably be blowing him away. It's not something that requires art or a skill. It's just a matter of you being able to think on your feet and work hard. But you get a lot of these people that are like, I built 20 houses. I'm an excellent carpenter, but they're super slow and inefficient. And that's why they're taking demo jobs, because somebody builds houses. They don't really have to go do demo a basement. But, you did the right thing firing him. So good job on that. And now your new person, it sounds like you actually have a winner. And does he do anything else other than demo or just demo?
He tells me that he does. I asked him what he liked to do the most, because he's telling me he can do drywall, he can do some plumbing, he can do some electric, but he's not licensed in the mechanics.
Okay.
So he has in the past had somebody come in and bless his work, to sign off on it. I'm considering having him do the ceiling, which turns out David Wallace, the structural engineer, came in and looked and said, well, you actually do have trusses. They're flip-up trusses because it was a modular home.
Yeah.
When they get to the site, they just flip the trusses up. If we put some LVLs in the ceiling, or in the attic rather, and attach them securely to the trusses, then you have a truss system and you can take out any wall you want.
Oh, I got it. So you wouldn't actually put the LVL right there. You would put it up on top of that, you're saying?
Right. That's right.
Okay. So he's going to basically give you some understanding of how to do that. So the guy would have instructions on how to work it and do it. Exactly.
And I'm contemplating having these same 2 guys do that as kind of a trial. It's a very simple process.
Yeah, just get like the little bit of framing done, and it's not very much framing there. So you're right. If they can handle that framing and they do a nice job on it and they do it for the right price, then so we talked about this in the higher level group today. It's basically, you got to gain trust, right? We can't give people trust. And we talked about this earlier too. We'd like to just trust people because they did one job well. That's just, yes, we're optimistic when they do one job well, but then you give them an opportunity to do a second job well, and they do that, we're more optimistic. And now when they start to actually have a couple months on their belts, a lot of jobs, then at that point we can start giving them a little trust. They've earned it. Right? They've earned it. Right. So he's definitely earned the opportunity to do another job for you based on doing a great job. And yes, you could definitely go ahead and do your framing, because that's going to move your job along and get you moving in the right direction. And then I would not probably use them for electric, plumbing, and HVAC.
No,
just only because you're pulling permits, and if he can pull permits, and he's like, when he says I get someone to bless the work, if you do a house and you don't pull permits, he might be your guy, or a house that doesn't need a ton of plumbing, because plumbing's not complicated, but when you're pulling permits, it's important that they can get someone to pull the permits. They're not going to have issues, and you wouldn't want to jeopardize, which sounds like you might have a pretty solid relationship, because he might be able to do doors, trim, cabinets, probably knows how to do tile. I mean, people that are winners know how to do most stuff. They just get it. They can do most things profitably, is what I've seen. Like my number one contractor has went from doing 60% of the rehab. Now he's learned how to do HVAC, plumbing, and electric, which I do not know how somebody learns how to do all three of those things. He was only a contractor 4 years when I hired him about 6 years ago. And in the last 6 years, he has basically learned how to do 3 major trades. And when he does those trades, his work is better than my real HVAC, plumbing, and electric guy. He is so meticulous that he passed inspection every single time. He's really good. I mean, because they just see, he's he's a good dude, and he's a smart guy. And so when you have someone like that, maybe they've not done a million things, but often when they have a quick mind, they can figure that out if they've done it even just a few times. I mean, I can work circles around most tile guys, and I've only done tile 20 times in my life. Maybe 30. I don't know. I don't have a huge tile track record. Now, wood I did for a long time, and I'm very experienced at doing hardwood floors, but tile I kind of learned towards the end of my career, and I only did it a couple of years and here and there when people would pay me the right money to do it. But, again, I'm pretty quick at it. I mean, overall, I'm not the fastest guy in the world, but faster than most goofballs on Craigslist, who are super slow at it. So I know what the expectation should be, but that's because once you have the ability to do one thing well, you often can do other things well. And I loved it. He didn't say I need more money for doing a little extra work. That says a lot about him.
Well,
It actually is a pretty good standard.
These 2 guys ran circles around the other 3 guys.
How long did it take them to get it all done?
It took them 2 days, but they nailed it. I talked to him this afternoon and said, well, when I looked at the house, I saw a couple of screws and a couple of nails that you missed in the walls, and we're going to drywall. And how about going back over and just look the place over real well, and make sure you didn't miss anything significant there, because I think that needs to be addressed. And he said, boss, that's no trouble. I'll be over there in the morning.
It's awesome. That's how you want. That guy sounds awesome.
If anybody needs a demo guy,
well, don't give your guy away until he might be your total guy. So I mean, if he was just your demo guy and that's all he did, then you should share him, because you obviously won't keep him busy doing that one thing. But if he can do other things for you, let him do those other things.
So that's a start.
Great start. Yeah, I mean, you kind of had the same start as Speedy and them, right? You got a weirdo, and then got kind of lucky and got the next person. What do you feel like was different, Jim, with the second person? Like, what do you feel like some of the major differences were, if you before you actually seen the work, obviously?
Well, a couple of things struck me. One is the first guy was just cocky. He's got the 30 years experience. He's built houses. He probably does a great job of building a house.
I would bet he doesn't.
But he's got 2 sons who are in their 20s, and that was his work crew. And I think he just said, fellas, go knock it out. So instead of using a sledgehammer or a Sawzall or something, they're in there with framing hammers trying to make that the universal tool. And it's just not working. It's happening, but it's taking a hell of a lot longer. Yeah. And they are not taking instruction from me. And in fact, at 11 o'clock, Dad left the site and went to go take care of some other site he was working on, and left them there, and they were not receiving instruction well from me.
Yeah, they just weren't very learning based.
So the other guy he and his partner, they actually happen to share a house. One of the guys lives upstairs and the other guy lives in the basement. And they were hungry.
I know. That sounds like they live affordably too. I kind of like that when they're not like living. If my contractor has like a really big car and a nice house, I generally feel like I can't afford them. So I like to see my contractors living pretty affordably.
Well, the second guy, when I called him to say, I'm sorry, but I'll keep your name and number and so forth as we've been interviewing you, and that sounded good. Just somebody else, sounded like maybe they could do the job better. he said, man, I can't get anybody to let me in the door this week. He said, I'm trying this week to get some work. I need some work here. I got a place between jobs and I can't get anybody to hire me. So that kind of made my radar go up that could either be real good or real bad.
Sounds like he was the right guy. Well, I want to expand on what you said about the guy talking about 30 years experience. I build houses. Effectively, when people are insecure, they oversell themselves, because some level he might have all those like paperwork, on paper, he looks amazing, but let's be honest, he couldn't do a simple demo job, which is like on this of any construction thing you do. It's the simplest thing you can do. It's the only thing that might be under demo is cutting the grass. Right, it's like snow removal and cutting grass. Like demo's like right next to it. Honestly, you don't train people to do demo. They literally can be trained in a day to do it. It's one of those things.
Well, this second guy is telling me. He says, "Look, whatever you need done, if we can't do it, we'll tell you we can't do it. But we've tried all kinds of stuff, and some stuff we're better at, and some stuff we can do, but it's going to take us a while because we're not experts in that."
What I would probably try to get him to do for you is obviously get your framing done. When you're done the framing, see if there's anything you could do on the outside, like maybe tightening up gutters, painting them, try and get that nice, anything out there. You might actually have him, like, if he's willing and he's cheap enough, to rake up all the leaves. There's like a crap load of leaves in the yard. I mean, when I say that, everybody's probably listening saying, oh, it's leaves. Why would you get someone to rake the leaves? Well, Jim has a yard, it's 2 acres, and there's like about 700 trash bags of leaves in his yard. So it's a little bit of a job, but someone with a little bit of common sense could either get a blower or just rake it up real quick and try to get the majority of it up and put it in the bags that you can then get someone to pick up. They do like leaf removal and stuff. You can take and dump it for free for sure. So, something like that. I mean, you get what I'm saying though, is like, you want to try to keep him doing whatever you can do to move your thing forward. If it's demoing that garage out back, anything, right? Just constantly, get him the frame and then get him like, while they're doing electric, plumbing, and HVAC, your job is to kind of get him like doing anything he can potentially do.
He also picked up any metal, all that junk was in the house. He separated out all the metal to recycle that. And he picked up all of the materials that were in the yard, all that old lawn furniture, the bins, the old wheelbarrow, tarps, everything that was out there, and got all that done. And that was part of the $600.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, he sounds like a junk collector. he likes that stuff.
Yeah, he's got a guy. He says he takes all that stuff too, all the metal too.
See, that's someone with some common sense. He's taking the metal, making a couple extra bucks, taking some other things. I mean, he's optimizing, right? He's making money where other people are coming in and complaining. He
actually cleaned the basement up more than I thought he needed to. I said, listen, it's not your mother's kitchen floor. It doesn't have to be that clean. He said, no, nobody wants all this trash in their house.
That's true. Well, I like a lot of what you're hearing from him. So keep an eye on him. Don't give him trust yet, but definitely give him some more jobs and keep testing them. I think I went on and maybe got distracted, but what I was saying about when people give this long resume of like how great they are, it generally, especially if they're older, it basically suggests they're not great. And let me just tell you why. If somebody's like 50 years old plus, and they're like, I'm great, I've been building houses forever, and I've done all these amazing things, and they're answering a Craigslist ad to do demo for you, that is not a congruent thing, right? It's not like, if somebody's 50 years old and you're amazing at what you do, you have work booked up for the next 15 years of your life, because you've already built a book of business in the 30 years you've been doing this. So, you have people lined up to work with you. So the only way you would really truly be available at that age with that level of experience would be if you really aren't very good, or if you're difficult to deal with. There's something wrong with them, essentially. And I've seen this many, many times. I've seen people come to me. I had a guy do Tanya's tile, and I think you might have heard this story. And he was like, I've been a tile guy for 30 years. And I'm like, who'd you work for? Because I used to do, I work for this person. Now I'm like, I work for them too. And he knew the people. So legitimately, he knew all the people. And I'm like, oh God. And he's like, I'll do the tile in both bathrooms for $600. And I'm like, I got $1,200 in the budget. But now I'm like, that's not very congruent. This guy's, first of all, got 30 years experience. Now he's trying to do the tile for half the price of what people normally get paid. So I'm like, man, something must be up with this dude. But at $600, I'm going to give it a shot because I'm a cheapskate. And he ended up taking 2 weeks to do the tile. And it was okay because we got him in early. He literally took 2 weeks to do the tile, though. And some of the tile's not perfect. And it took him 2 weeks to do $600, and he worked all 2 weeks, didn't ask for a penny more. I mean, it was insane. It was really insane, actually. But he didn't complain. But he would come and he would work for 3 hours, and he would put in like 10 towels and leave. That was a good day. Some days it'd be like 5 towels and he'd leave. That's what it took him, 2 weeks. So again, he was somebody on paper that looked really good. But when you really think about it logically, when somebody's been doing something for a really long time, like he can go work for anyone. He can get paid. If you're somebody with 30 years experience, honestly, if he was a good dude, he literally wouldn't even have to do the work anymore. He could be, managing people doing the work and getting paid like 100K, 150K a year, not even have to swing a hammer. But it suggests that he's not, like, maybe he's been part of doing these things, but some missing piece. So this was a really good learning piece. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think you could take that to farther references. The people I love to hire and that I've had the best success with, Jim and everyone else in the group, are people that are younger. Number one, not being like a, racist or not racist, oldest or whatever it is. I'm not like picking on old people, but construction's a young man's game. Let's be honest. You're not going to be like carrying stuff over your head when you're 65 years old. Not normally. I've met a few, but for the most part, most people are like in their 60s. They're not looking to be like banging walls out and stuff. Some do, but your body wears down. If you're doing that hard work for 30 years, your body's wearing down. This stuff's rough. It's like playing professional football or something. You're out there busting your butt every day. So the people that I tend to gravitate towards are generally somewhere in their like mid 20s to mid 30s. They've got somewhere between 2 to 10 years experience. They just haven't found their way. They've not built their book of business. They've not found their niche. And often some of my best guys have only been doing it maybe 3 to 4 years, but just kind of went through this, all the schools of hard knocks with somebody else, was just starting to hit their stride. I picked them up at the perfect time, took them from where they were to where they are now. And they love working with me because we found a niche that works together. But they were available because when you're 3 to 5 years into this business, you don't have all your clients lined up, right? You don't know where to go. You don't know the Mike Greens and the Gyms and everyone else that can keep you busy. You don't know flippers. You don't understand that. You don't even know that's an opportunity, honestly. But so I do actually take into account if somebody's like 60 years old or 50 and I've been doing it for 30 years. Initially, you might actually feel more connected with them because they're closer to your age and you might have more in common with them. And but when it comes to construction, my experience has been I actually tend to pick the guys that are more experienced originally, but they always been like that guy did the towel, right? They're always really slow and like they drink. There's something going on. Like they like to drink a lot or something, they're doing something wrong. Like pretty close to dying from like liver cancer because they got alcohol problems. And it's just a mess with the people that are like 30 years. And they are very, man, I don't believe this about, I say you can't teach an old dog tricks because I'm becoming kind of an old dog and you can definitely teach me some stuff. I'm learning every day. But I have to say some of the people that are on Craigslist that have been doing this 30 years definitely fall into that category. Like they are not learning based. Like you said, you give them a little suggestion and they don't take it well. Like they're like, I've been doing this 30 years because they've done pumped themselves up so much that if they were to accept advice from Jim, well, then how would they be able to keep this false persona up of being like the #1 construction guy in the world? But it doesn't make sense if you're the #1 construction guy in the world and you're answering a Craigslist ad to do demo, right? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? You're like, I got a business degree from Harvard. And I'm responding to a job to work at a gas station. I would be like, okay, hold on, what's going on, right? This don't make no sense. So think of it like that a little bit. And I mean, I'm glad that you brought this up because I feel like everyone in the group can learn a little bit from that very specific situation. And great job going back to the books. And now I would say maybe start to map out all your framing stuff and figure that out and see if your guy can do it. You got all your permits and everything are good that way, or you're working on them?
Yeah, we're working on them. I hope they come through soon.
Yeah, AA County, you're usually pretty good. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff without permits, and if you're pulling them, you can always they might give you a stop work order, but if you're pulling them, you're usually pretty good.
Yeah, I was happy with that guy, and I'll take to heart the information about the experienced guy, and that is exactly right. I've had that experience with some other people on other projects that they come in, they have this world of experience. They're a little higher, but you think, well, if you got all this experience, and when they get in there, they couldn't shine their shoes.
You know, it's true. And they also aren't very grateful. And one of the major things I like to find in people is that they're grateful and they're thankful for having the opportunity. And this guy seems highly thankful.
Yeah, these two guys are very appreciative. And he told me, he said, you know, I'm going to talk to you and ask a lot of questions. And he did. He asked a ton of questions because I want you to be happy with the job. And if you're not happy, you come to me because I don't want you to think I'm not doing a good job.
Jim, I like this guy a lot, man. I like a lot about him. So, okay, cool. Keep giving him some chances. You got a decent guy, and you might be able to keep pushing your rehab along. And if you pulled your permits, I mean, it should be a walkthrough. You're not doing anything too crazy. So you should. I mean, if they've taken them up there, they should be able to get them approved the same day.
Well, they're never going to do that. Do that. Just
Who do you get to take it up
process.
there?
Well, we're in the critical area. That's one of the.
Oh, you're in. So you fell. You're
Yeah.
1,000 foot from the water.
Yep.
No, I didn't think you were that close.
It's right out. The line is right out on the road there, through the road. We're
Wow.
just in.
So you're just in it because that takes like a week or two then. But
Yep.
you can kind of do some of the stuff you're doing and then go from there probably.
We also found, as an aside, that where all those kitchen cabinets were with the stove and all that stuff, they must have had a major leak for a long time there because the OSB under there is like looks like shredded wheat.
Mhm.
And I got to do a little more demo in there and get that up and see what the plywood underneath it looks like. But we get that done this week.
Either way, when you have something like that, just know that that's a very small couple-hour job, you know, a few sheets of plywood, and, you know, you might pay somebody $100 to do it. It's $100 of material. So, you know, that easily falls, and it, you know, easily falls like, and, you know, you won't go way over budget for that.
No, it's real simple thing.
Okay. Well, I want to do one thing and then we can finish up. Today, earlier in the call, we talked about some of the standards, and I want to try to take some of these standards everyone wrote in and the standards that we want to apply when we're picking a contractor to work with. So I actually wrote a few, and these came from a couple people in the group, but you know, they start work at 9 a.m., they put in a full day, and they stay till the job's finished. So I want to explain that, obviously. You know, Pete asked, should they start at 7? Most of my guys start like 8:30, but what I think is unacceptable is they're starting at 11 or 12 consistently because, you know, unless they're staying till 8 o'clock at night, they're probably not getting much done. You know, if you come 11 o'clock, then next thing you know, 12:30, you're going to lunch, and, you know, you literally could leave like 3 or 4 and get nothing done. You know, time you get everything set up, you're probably leaving. I know people that do stuff like that. There are people that come in and I'm like, man, once you go to a job, if you're going to be efficient, what I learned back when I did construction was you get to a job early and you stay there as long as possible, because your biggest inefficient thing you do is traveling to the job and back, going to lunch, getting materials. All that stuff stops you from being on the job making money, right? When you're on the job, you're making money. So the longer you stay on the job, the better you are. So if anyone is coming late, leaving early, they're not going to really get enough net time due to the travel and the break of maybe lunch and going to Home Depot. I mean, they effectively could almost do nothing. I mean, seriously, it could like 3-4 days could go by and they could do anything. And when we say that they work for a full day and they stay on the job and finish, what I mean by staying on the job and finish, obviously, is get those full days in, but they don't do a hard day's work at your job and then say, yeah, man, Jim called me and he needs some work. So I went to his house the next day and I'll see you like 2 days from now. They literally start your job and finish the job, especially when you're giving them a job. It's like 2 or 3 days. They start it, they finish it. They start it, they finish it. They stay until the job's complete, collect their money. The reason this is so powerful is that when you get people in this habit, it's a trained habit. We want people to know, like, they get a job from us, they agree to do it, they come in, they do it, they finish it, they do it, they finish it, and then we just keep doing that over and over until it becomes a routine for them. Okay, so pretty important. Do what they say. This is the second thing. I mean, probably the most talked about one was that doing what they say, you know, kind of saying one thing and doing another. Well, I mean, this is not going to won't be the last time you hear that. People tend to do this a lot in the construction business. I don't know of any other trade or, you know, or say like any other skill that gets more people that don't do what they say. So I do specially look for people that do what they say. So whenever I'm hiring someone and meeting them and, you know, they show up an hour late, don't call me, or 20, 30, I literally, last time I ran a funnel, which was quite a while ago, about 9 months ago, I had 5 people meet me and one dude randomly showed up like 20 minutes late. And I just told him, hey man, don't worry about it. He's like, oh, but I already came all the way out here. I'm like, yeah, you didn't call. He's like, oh, I didn't have a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone. I'm like, you don't have the ability to call and tell me when you're going to be late. And funny enough, Rashad actually ended up hiring the guy like 2 weeks later, and he was clueless. He basically worked for like a whole day, and then Rashad gave him like $50 because he felt bad, but he basically worked the whole day and did nothing. And it was interesting that, and so it wasn't that he was actually very apologetic about being late, but the reality was he wasn't smart enough to figure out how to get there on time. Because see, I can tell you, if I tell you I'm going to be somewhere at 9, I can start saying, okay, is there any traffic? How long does it take? What does the GPS say? It's 40 minutes. Oh, by the way, is it 40 minutes? But will I run into traffic? Should I leave early? You know, I can think of a lot of things, and, you know, and I can easily figure out how to be there at 9 o'clock almost every single time, like, you know, without like some major crazy thing. But the major crazy things happen like every couple of years, not like, you know, twice a week. So, you know, this is kind of how we do it. So they're doing what they're saying, what is huge, right? And anytime they tell you one thing and do something different, it becomes your responsibility to pay attention, even if it's a small thing, right? Even if it's something like showing up 20 minutes late. I don't think that's the end of the world, but yeah, it's me just paying attention to that. We just started this relationship and you've already not done what you've said, right? What you promised. You're not a man of your word or a woman of your word. I want people to actually have what we call, you know, integrity and honor. Right. And honor, right? Honor is actually based off of the word honesty. And, you know, so when you have honor, you tell people you do something, you follow through with it. And if you don't, you're a dishonest person. That's my belief system. That's when I went to Choice. That was something they taught us there. They gave us they made us stretch so deep and gave us no opportunity not to keep our word. And I would say it was one of my biggest gifts that I got from that training was, you know, to learn how to, like, at a high level, because I realized I never always kept my word to other people. I didn't always keep my word to myself, right? Sometimes we hold ourselves to a very high standard with other people and not with our own selves. So, you know, that was what I learned. And because I was very good at keeping my word to other people, but not very much with myself. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm going to eat well and lose 20 pounds. And the next thing you know, I won't keep my word. I got a donut in my mouth. What happened? I'm under an ice cream machine. I'm at a 7-Eleven with my mouth, you know, up on the things, pouring Slurpees into my mouth because I have some kind of crazy addiction to sugar that my mom gave me by feeding me Captain Crunch when I was a kid. Not her fault, but I think she was trying to buy my love with all that sugar, and she did. But now I have an addiction I can't get over. So, but the thing is obviously, you know, it's very important that we keep our words, to do what they say. Must show up on time or communicate. So we actually heard this from a few people, like they show up and if they are going to be a little bit late, then obviously if they communicate, we give them a little bit of room to slide. But showing up on time, I think, is just the first opportunity for someone to show you that they do what they say. They're honorable. They have enough common sense to figure out how to navigate traffic and get there on time. David says no hidden cost. I love this one. So this one is, again, this kind of goes back to do what you say. If you say you're going to do a job for, you know, for $1,000, and then you get halfway through it and you start whining, you're not making any money like Petey's guy did, and probably like your guy did, and many contractors have done. Well, that's not you doing what you say, right? It's not you being a person of honor. Also, that's not you actually, like, you know, keeping your word. So hitting cost to me is a break of honor and a break of the trust, big time. It's basically like stealing from me, because when you give me your word, you can do something, and I choose to hire you, I expect you to follow through and do it, like at any cost, by the way. When I say at any cost, meaning like, you know, you say I don't make no money, then you mean you can have a conversation about what we might do in the future so you can make money. You can actually put a different bid in. But on this job, you got to follow through and do what you say. So how they handle it, if they quit, they do any of that, then it's me weeding them out. I don't get too butthurt about it. And that's all important. So no hidden cost. I fully hold everyone to the standard that we don't accept change orders. So if someone comes in and tells me it's $2,000 to do something, first question I have is, hey, Jim, $2,000 now. Is that everything? Because like when I go back to my investor, I'm going to get $2,000 set aside to pay you. I will not have a penny more. So are you 100% confident that you can keep this around at $2,000, no more? And if they're like, well, maybe this, maybe that, I'm not so sure. I'm like, Jim, get sure. and tell me the right number. And if that number works, but whatever number you give me, I want it to be super clear that number will be locked in. So if you think there might be something behind the wall, something you didn't see, something it might cost more, take some time right now to make sure you do that. And anytime I see any kind of inconsistency in what they're saying or uncertainty, I'm like, make sure this is all I'm going to pay you. So I think that's a really good thing I just showed you. And obviously that's something for you to keep in mind when you're working with people, because it might cause them to leave and quit right on the spot, but you'll be dodging a bullet. So we don't accept hidden costs, because hidden cost is just an excuse to basically just charge you more and kind of lie to you. To kind of come in the door and say, I can do it for $1,000, but then every time you find $300 to $400 more. So technically you're choosing them, but really like they're not 1,000, they're actually 1,300, 1,400, and they get, it doesn't feel good when people take from you. That's how I feel when people overcharge me, they're taking from me. So Micah says, communicate well, finish on time. Don't try to nickel and dime you, and see that it's a relationship and that we're offering, and not just a job. So I like everything Micah said. He kind of summed up everything that we just talked about, right? Communicate well, finish on time, don't try to nickel and dime me. It seems like these are the main things that drive people insane. So you can get why we want to focus on character, and we want to focus on picking someone who has some character. And that's why we want to give small jobs and give them an opportunity to prove their character. Your guy so far, this new guy, is definitely, looking good as far as like a couple things he did were very high character things. So I like him for that, because he's definitely went above and beyond with that sweeping the floor and not charging you extra. That's a high character thing. I'm very impressed with that. I definitely give a lot of credit to it. So Glory said they must have their own tools. They must be clear on what will happen if they don't finish on time. They should stop complaining about work not previously done well by other previous people. Oh, she's got some more too. I got to hit to see more. And then no asking for permission or making excuses for work not done well. So everything that she basically just said is something that good contractors will have no issues with. So bad contractors will have all those problems. And when they're complaining about other people's work, is just like one of those guys saying, I've been building houses for 30 years. When they complain about other people's work, generally shows that they suck. Because my best guys do not go around and complain about other people's work. They might be like, hey, that ain't right, I'm gonna take care of it. But they're not like every minute, like, oh, this work's so bad, this work's so bad. But then, like, I seen the work that Glory's guy was doing. He can't be throwing stones in a glass house, because the work he was doing was pretty bad. Like, he put a patch on the wall that looked like he would be sanding for the rest of his life, because it was so thick and wrong and not done correctly. And he's in there sanding, and man, I'm surprised he probably has carpal tunnel from sanding that thing. So anyhow, this is what they tend to do. I noticed the people that talk the most crap about other people and their work tend to be suck themselves. It's a way that they make themselves feel better. We all do it at some level, right? We all kind of talk about like this person or that person a little and kind of compare them to ourselves to make ourselves feel better. But when people do it a lot and they do it all the time, it comes from a deep level of insecurity. And we really don't want to work with contractors that are insecure. We want ones that are confident. So Glory will get rid of a lot of those things, right? They don't finish on time. They complain, they whine about other people's work. They're not making excuses. This, again, low character, right? And honestly, if we could basically sum every one of these things up, it comes down to a character and their ability to get work done. There is actually a free test that I wrote down. I need to find it, but someone was telling me it's like a character test and talks about somebody's ability to be like really good character. And I have to find it, man, because I wrote it down. It was really interesting. So we have the DISC test. It was something else. I can't remember the name of it. And I wrote it because I was so impressed, but probably on a piece of paper randomly laying around. If I can find it, I'll tell you about it, because maybe it's something we could use and let our contractors do it for free. And it was actually a test that actually told you if people have like good character or not. Because I would say, based on everything we just looked at, I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that character might be the number one thing we care about. I don't know what you guys think, but based on all those little standards, right? I mean, it seems like the number one overarching standard is they kind of do what they say and they have good character. So next step is I'm going to write all these down. I'm going to work on these a little bit and try to build out maybe, 5 to 10 of our kind of character things we care about, our standards that we want to reach. And maybe I'll take some time also. And I think I will take some time to define exactly what good character is and what that means. And so instead of us complaining about our contractors, maybe the next thing we can do, and I'm going to actually make another post, Maybe we could talk a little bit about what we like about good contractors and what we, some contractors we've worked with that we've had good experience. Like Jim, you actually have a couple things that like very specific examples that I think you could share if you want to get on Facebook and do that with us. Because I think as we talk about what we don't want, it becomes now our job to also balance it out and talk about what we do like and what we do want. And now we can find the difference between the two. And now we start looking when we're working with someone and saying, did they sound like the first list on Facebook or did they sound more like the second list? Does that make sense? Because if they sound more like the second list, that's what we do want. And that's who we want to work with. So in order to finish out this exercise, we need to go ahead and do the second list of here's the things we love about contractors. I'm going to actually go ahead and post it right now. If you guys can get on there, Peter popped this one. I think we got some good stuff. But we'll put this until next week. So I'm just going to put in there, right? Let me just put in there, what are some, let's see, I'm trying to think of the right word. So any other questions while I'm writing this though? What are some,
Hey, Mike.
yes.
Hey, just real quick, this might be a pretty quick fix. But for me, I feel like not really lacking sense of urgency, but maybe just kind of balancing the time between, sort of finishing up Gelston for, knocking out the punch out list and, looking for new deals. For instance, like yesterday, I pretty much focused on Gelston, getting carpet in, getting that all laid out. And then today, actually met with Larry at Platinum, getting everything lined up for, getting a new hard money lender lined up for the next deal. So kind of, flipping days between like Gelston, finishing with the last deal and looking for a new deal. Sort of like, I guess, prioritizing my days right now.
Yep. Well, obviously, just so you know, always your number one priority is, you want to do some stuff on finding a deal, but not if it ends up like if your day's so tight that you can't actually finish your deal. Finishing your deal is always your number one priority because you want to get that on the market and complete. If you find you're struggling to do both, then you would always obviously prioritize finishing your deal. It's the most important thing. What I've found in my business, and I've had to make an adjustment and get really clear about, is sometimes I'm doing coaching, I'm finding deals, I'm doing all this stuff. But I realize like I every week now need to look and say, when's the next deal and what can I do to move it forward? And then if there's nothing I can do to move stuff forward, everything's being taken care of, then I'll go to doing these other things. But I always run it through the filter of like, is there anything else I could be doing at the house to get it on the market? Because the faster you get it on the market, the better, and the faster you get it complete and ready, because then you can be looking for a property pretty seriously while this is on the market being sold. If you find you can't do both, sometimes with work and life, it's difficult to do both. And if you think that's right, one's running into the other, then I would choose finishing the house first. Does that make sense?
All right, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. And so obviously you got some of your other stuff done, but yeah, don't let it interfere. And is there any big things right now? Because your house was it was on its way. You just obviously, you said they don't have a sense of urgency. Tell me more about that. Because you said one of your guys is like working, but they don't have a sense of urgency.
No, it's just like my plumber. I mean, he said that he's waiting on the AC unit to come in. He said it was, I think last week he said it would be in this week, but now I spoke with him this morning. He said it's probably coming towards the end of this week and probably get it in on Monday. So
first of all, I don't think any AC units, he's waiting on any AC unit because if he's buying a unit he needs to wait on, he's paying too much. Did he put a Goodman in your house?
I think it's Rheem for the furnace. I'm not sure what the AC unit's going to be though.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, it would be the same thing. So maybe that's one area where he spent too much and he could save some money. Like putting a Rheem in always costs more, a couple hundred more at least over a Goodman. But I would never, most of the guys that work for flippers, they just work with whatever's in stock and it's the cheapest. They never buy something and have to order it or wait on it. That's just never something I've ever heard because they would just go get something else, right? I mean, they should be buying it all together anyhow, not putting one piece in and come back and getting the other piece and saying it's on order. Like, why would you pick that? So it sounds like bullshit to me because I think we talked about it a little bit and kind of discussed that you might have overpaid a hair. So what he's probably doing a little bit is shuffling things around would be my guess and, and giving you a lot of excuses that honestly don't seem, just from my quick, look at it, don't seem like it's right. doesn't feel like it shakes out. Like I've never in my life of doing this ever heard somebody say, I'm waiting on a unit to come in. Because like basically there's 5 different suppliers they can go to get the same stuff. So unless he was doing something special, but he's not. He's doing a townhouse, and you know, he could put whatever the cheapest thing he could find is, and that would be no problem. So with that being said, stay on his butt and get serious with him and just let him know, like, man, I need you to finish this out. My investor's going crazy. He's holding you up.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think at one point in time he was asking for like, he was like, he sent me a text. He was like, if you want this, you know, like to move a little faster, you know, like give him like 50% of the final payment up front so he could get the, you know, sort of like order a unit faster or something like that.
Yeah, so he can actually get the money to pay for it because he's already spent all the other money. Effectively, that's what he means, but maybe you want to talk to him and just see if you could actually buy the unit for him. Because I don't know what the cost of the unit is, but like maybe you could buy it and get it yourself or go pick it up. I don't know, like, dude, because I wouldn't trust giving him the money, honestly. He did pull permits, so he's licensed and everything.
Right.
I would not give him all the money up front because I think the problem gets worse. But if I had to guess what I think he's dealing with is I think you basically paid him a little too much and then he blew it and he don't kind of have the money. So he's out there trying to work it out. You know what I mean? He's like trying to get it, like work it out. Yeah, he's basically like saving up to do your job. He's like saving for Christmas. Like, so you might want to talk to him around that money subject a little bit and just say, look, we need to get this done. Can't give you all the money up front. Maybe I can pay for the unit. You know, I gotta make sure it gets here, something like that. But just be real cautious of giving him any large amount of money because he could just basically stiff you on that. And, you know, now you're even deeper in a hole.
Right. That makes sense. All right. I'll give that a try.
Hey, you know what else you could do too? One last piece of advice is, you know what you need to finish. You might want to see if anyone in the group can give you a recommendation to one of their HVAC guys and maybe get on the phone and talk to some guys and ask them how much they would charge you to come finish it.
Okay. That's cool. But can I get the other guy to do? I mean, I have to get my guy to do it though, right? Because you.
No, I want you to get. So first of all, you can fire your guy at any time, and someone else can get a permit and get rid of him if you have to. David actually dealt with this. You know, he was doing the same thing because he was just getting. You know, he had a bozo, and his guy was being a headache. But basically, the reason I want you to get another price is because depending on what they're going to charge you to finish it, kind of gives you a feel for what you should have paid him. So if they come in at like $1,400 to finish it and you only owe him 11, well, you know where the problem is because he has to actually come up with $300 plus pay his people to come work for a day to finish your job. So you can see why he's ducking that. Someone's like, I'll do it for $800 or $900. Then, you know, obviously I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the unit costs more than that. I think it's like $800 or $900 probably just for the unit. But if there was actually some money in this, he probably would be on top of it.
That makes sense.
That's my guess. So I would start figuring out plan B, even if you feel like, because obviously you might not want to use this guy in the future. So you probably, you might be able to use this opportunity to find your next guy anyhow. And then just have a plan B in place in case this guy never follows through. Because when will you call it a day, right? You've been waiting on it for a week. So there has to be some point where you give up.
Right.
I don't know when that is. It's always this is a very tough decision. So get plan B in place, and then you might get some clarity around whether if this guy's full of shit. I kind of think he is based on everything I'm hearing. I would bet on it almost, but you know, if somebody else comes in and says he's not and they can finish it for cheap or whatever, then, you know, maybe you say, hey man, gotta get someone to finish it. Because the whole, if you give me more money, I can order it faster. What does that even mean?
Right.
Insane talk. What's he getting it like overnighted? Amazon 2-day ship or something? It's in stock, man. Be like, dude, it's in stock. I mean, come on. Actually, if you find out what unit it is, if it's on any of your paperwork, you could probably call some of the suppliers or look online, and I bet you can just find it for sale. That would be also 2 steps. See if you can find out what unit it is. Look for it online. See how much it costs. Because what I'm trying to gain here is a little bit of understanding of what position you're actually in, so you can make a better decision based on the context. So figure out what the unit costs and then maybe check with some other people. And once you know what the unit is, you can say, hey, I got to put this unit in. Here's what it is. You know, here's what needs to be done. What would you charge me to do that? And, you know, now you can get an assessment of where you need to be. Because no, you can totally put a complaint in. And also, did you sign any contract with them?
I mean, it was like when we were doing like the draws, where sort of like the roughing and all that, we did sign like sort of like an agreement, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was essentially paper. Yeah, paper contract.
But kind of his, right? I mean, probably.
Yeah, sort of something that he.
Yeah, so you can sign his, no problem, but make him sign yours, which says if you come and do my stuff, I'm firing you. And you know, because whenever you give somebody money up front, the only times like you sometimes get pushed where you have no choice would be with like HVAC guys and sometimes like electricians, maybe plumbers. They're like the only three people that you sometimes get where you have to do it. But if you do get in a situation where you have to put money up front, then you totally want to make sure you have everything's clear. Okay, because it's important. Right. So anyhow, because this guy connected with your hard money lender at all, or did he just come from the funnel?
No, he was someone that I found on my own.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he was actually doing the plumbing too. So, but he got the plumbing done. That was kind of delayed too. But yeah, just waiting on AC unit right now.
I really feel like he's not waiting. He's actually trying to get the money. Because I mean, I'm telling you, you owe him 1,100. I feel like that material. But if you find out, actually, I'm going to tell you right now. You said it's a ream.
Yeah, pretty sure.
2.5 ton.
Sure.
I'm just curious now. Ream AC unit. Okay, so it's not that bad. I mean, here's a 14 ton. That's kind of one you would need. Only $778. Okay, so there's a unit. It's only 780 something. So I mean, there's some money. I mean, you're not way overpaid to them. It don't look like based on this, and that's a ream. It's only 787. I pulled it up. You guys can see. So that one right there. So okay, it's on sale. I tell him. He's probably waiting on the sale one that's got a dent in it or something. Who knows? Okay. I would just stay on him, man. Just say, look, what's it going to take to get you finished? But I don't agree in giving him a bunch of money. How's that ever going to make things better?
Right.
The only thing you got is the money right now. You give him the money, guy, who knows? You might just be digging a deeper hole.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Stay in touch and let me know what's going on.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Take share off. Any other questions before we go? Awesome. For everyone who's on the call now and did not hear what we talked about earlier, next week I'm going to be gone on Tuesday, so I'm going to move our call to Thursday, exact same times, nothing different, just on Thursday instead of Tuesday. What I'm going to do since I'm gone is on Monday, I'm going to post on our Facebook group, and I'll do this on both groups, by the way, for the higher level group and for the mastermind. And I'm going to post on a question where any questions you have, if you just ask what the questions are, I'll do a Facebook Live and answer them all in more detail. So that way, because I'm not a great writer, so sometimes I'll try to write the answers. I'm not always as articulate about it, but it would be pretty awesome if you guys fill in any questions you have to kind of keep you good in between the time I leave today and then we come back Thursday. Feel free to go ahead and put those in. Okay. So I kind of give you that. I'll make sure I text everyone and let them know that like it'll be next Thursday instead of Tuesday. I'll also send a text to let you guys know that there'll be a link on Facebook page, both pages, saying here's a questionnaire. On Monday, once the questions get all together, if there is any questions, I'll do a Facebook Live and I'll answer them live. So that way you can just watch the video back, or, if you see me come up as a live, you feel free. But whatever questions you have between now and Monday, just feel free to put those in. I'll get that post up soon. And then I'll do the Facebook Live, probably get up around like Thursday. Okay. So, all right. Awesome. Everybody have a great week. And if, like I said, you need anything, I'll have that Facebook post so you can ask questions, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Everyone have a great week. See you.